Beneath the silver dragon's halls, 2 sentries guarded the solemn entrance. Without warning, resolute footsteps pulsating with power drew swiftly near. Fear flickered in their eyes as they turned to acknowledge the approach of royal authority. With sharp command, she dismissed them, demanding privacy with the captive. Thus emerged Rossweisse, queen of the silver dragons in wafting radiance. She questioned the legendary fighter, inquiring about his fate as the dragon's captive. Coolly, the dragon hunter told her to waste no time and finish the matter. Yet her majesty, intrigued, wondered aloud if he genuinely wished that fate. Drawing nearer, she teased it couldn't end so simply, captivated by his charm. Her fingers grazing his skin, she mused he'd look perfect marked with just a few more scars. Furious, the hero cried for her to end his suffering rather than extend his disgrace. Yet the Silver Queen offered him allegiance and the captive smirked, debating her worthiness. His challenge sparked both shock and rage in the monarch's fiery gaze. Consumed by wrath, she struck fiercely, breaking the bonds that confined her foe. He collapsed to the dusty earth, coughing in the settling haze after her blow. In swift retaliation, she pressed him down with her foot, demanding how he dared insult her. Taunting him, she reminded Leon Cosmo of his fallen honor, stripping away that title forever. With a cruel grin, she deemed him misguided and pronounced his fate was sealed in that cell. Liam bitterly countered she had stolen his hope of bequeathing his name to heirs. Yet the queen found amusement in such thoughts, yet affirmed his legacy would end. The hero shouted not to consume human strength, while she responded by coiling her tail around his neck. With a swift lift, the Silver Queen dangled him, labeling him incorrigible in the air. Desperate for breath, the young hero clutched at the tail that cut off his air. Barely breathing, Leon appealed to her. The queen asked if surrender finally tempted him. Despite suffocation, Leon insisted she'd erred in not one but 2 crucial ways from the outset. Astonished, she listened as he claimed her first failure was being with the Dragon Slayer. Next, preparing for a second revelation, Leon yelled her next error was drinking his blood. At once realizing she was trapped by the blood curse, her tail released him and Leon collapsed. As Leon retreated, his opponent glared at him, afflicted by the curse's growing strength. All at once, the queen was overtaken by a heat she couldn't begin to control. She soon collapsed on her knees, bewildered by the changes surging through her form. Utterly lost, she wondered what on earth was now happening to her. Leon told her she would feel the agony caused by his soul for all time. Tears traced lines down the dragon's cheeks as the curse overwhelmed her. Without warning, Rossweisse hurled herself onto Leon, leaving him visibly dumbfounded. Their crash knocked him flat on the dungeon stones with surprising force. As he lay on the ground, Leon asked, perplexed, what was happening now. He realized her sudden desire, and without pause, the silver dragon kissed him intently. That unforeseen kiss rendered Leon utterly silenced. An hour later, their chains and garments were scattered across every inch of the dungeon floor. Soon the creature awoke, the remnants of the curse still shining in her eyes. Sitting up, she surveyed the scene and tried to piece together her confused memories. Rage surged through her as she swung around to glare fiercely at Leon. Unable to accept any of this, she cried out, demanding to know what he'd done. He explained that his blood curse linked their souls, and she's doomed to endless pain at his end. She called it nonsense and argued that nothing should have happened before his death. Leon confessed it had all been an accident. This side effect took even him by surprise. She angrily told him to be silent, yet Leon coyly joked about dragons following monogamy. He revealed that now she would have neither another mate nor any possible heirs, as the curse was too strong. Mocking her, he pointed out she too had lost her legacy. Enraged, power sparked as she cursed him. He calmly questioned if she wished him dead, saying she needn't bother because his end was near. Eventually, Leon proclaimed that his parting wish was for her to forever bear pain and hate. The woman stayed silent, quietly dressing and trying to comprehend what had unfolded. Afterward, she questioned how a human inflicts vile revenge yet still desires only death. Her hand shimmering with energy, she angrily called him wicked, unable to believe his demeanor. She then released a surge of magic at his chest. Once, Liam Cosmo was a mythical dragon hunter. At 5, he slew a wild dog, earning the chance to be trained by a legendary dragon slayer. By age 10, he joined the Imperial Academy, finishing as its youngest and most honored alum. At 15, he fought on warfronts, slaying dragons and reclaiming lost lands for his people. So he rose as humanity's bravest dragon killer and their last hope, until the dragons captured him. 2 full years had quietly gone by since the fateful moment of his capture. He jolted awake, gasping as if fleeing a nightmare, his senses jumbled as he surveyed the room. Pressing a hand to his chest, he puzzled over his emotions and marveled at the lavish, strange chamber. Then faint hinges creaked, catching his attention as the door moved slowly inward. A child with raven hair peeked in, softly noting his return to consciousness in a gentle tone. Stunned by her sweetness, he mused he might be in paradise in reward for heroic deeds. Calling her a serene angel, he drew near and asked her name, but she puzzled at the word angel. Brightly, the girl responded with joyful pride that her name was Moon. He admired the loveliness of her name, but silently questioned her unusual hair. Moon answered that her mother said her hair represents the moon, surprising him that angels have mothers. Lifting her up, he shared his name, Leon Cosmo, and she gleefully said she knew Leon meant lion. He asked who revealed this, and the girl explained her mother told her that secret too. Growing wary, he quietly pressed about her mother's identity, and the girl's cheerful reply stunned him. Rossweisse. Understanding at last who her mother was, he began connecting the clues to his predicament. With a dazzling beam, Moon declared with certainty that he was her father. The sudden truth stunned him, his body frozen and unable to produce a single word. The little girl asked if he was her father and her mother was Rossweisse's, then called for her mom. That confirmation struck him deeply, plunging him further into disbelief. The ever-composed Silver Queen arrived as Mun announced his awakening, yet she only replied with a knowing smile saying she was already aware. Noon smiled, saying Mommy must be happy since she visited every day, and although the Draveness confirmed it, Leon found such faith foolish. She soon asked Mun to go outside and play, wishing to have a private talk with her father. Once alone, Leon questioned if Mun was truly his child, receiving a confirming yes that she was his by blood. With an angry flick of her tail, the Silver Queen insisted he despised her. Leon retreated, demanding to know her reasons for the child and for saving his life. She replied that he'd slept for 2 years, wondering if he expected her to simply ignore it. Raging, Leon yelled that he never wished for this and under no sane circumstances would embrace her. Teasing, she asked whether touching her was dreadful for him, and he admitted it absolutely was. Without warning, her tail coiled, and with a push she sent him sprawling onto the mattress. As she restrained him, Leon asked in fear about her intentions, but wordless she ripped his shirt open. Gesture glowing, she said she would engrave a dragon mark on him, while Leon pleaded for her to quit. She stated it would bind him to her forever, a shame he'd always carry as her captive. Mocking him, she questioned what his human companions would do upon noticing the dragon tattoo. Feeling it spread, Leon demanded why she went so far. She said dragons viewed revenge as merciless. She declared her intent to make him endure lasting humiliation and bear his embarrassment endlessly. Yet Leon sensed something odd as the mark took hold, sensing this act was an honor for her. Next she came close and softly told him that it was time his dragon vengeance began in earnest. Our tale begins in the luminous castle as the maids cheer about the queen's joy. Her spouse awakens. Eavesdropping, the dragon hunter resents being called the queen's husband, his irritation growing. He bitterly recalls the Silver Queen's relentless embrace, vowing to never submit but to escape instead. Leon soon examines the vigilant guards assembled near one gate of the castle, surveying his options. Realizing 4 dragons guard the exit, he knows escaping that way is an impossible feat. Still, the quiet and absence of guards seems odd compared to before, but then a surprising detail catches his attention beyond the wall. Moments later, he spots a strange hole hidden by grass and starts to ponder its origin. Peering in cautiously, he grows suspicious that it could very well be a well-set trap. Feeling cornered, he ignores potential danger and deems the hole his last chance for escape. He enters the tunnel, whispers a goodbye to the queen, and tells her Lil Muin is hers to keep. Far off, the intrigued girl observes and eagerly tells her mother that daddy is making a hole like a dog. Watching with approval, the queen calls him wonderful, while Muin wonders when he'll return. The queen gently explains that calling his return real is impolite when speaking of her father. The child asks for the proper word, and the queen smilingly lets her know it's bringing him back. After a while, the fugitive races through the forest, convinced he'll soon cross into human lands. He stops, hopeful he has gone far enough this time, certain she cannot catch up quickly. Suddenly, a wave of fear washes over him as the sense of pursuit rises. Looking up, he sees Rossweisse shouting her name as she soars above. Swiftly, she lands nearby and commends his speed, causing fear to fill his entire being. Without warning, her tail blocks his path, leaving him no room to escape ahead. She emerges, teasing him about playing, reveals disappointment, and confides that she dug the hole for his escape attempt. He confesses he suspected a trap, but is amazed at how quickly she found him afterward. The winged figure inquires whether people will still call him a dragon slayer with his marked chest. He retorts he would rather become average than endure more torment at her hands. Irritated, the dragon claims he fails to treasure her kindness and prepares to intervene. In one swift gesture, her immense claw seizes him and he feels overpowering fear. As Rossweisse flies off, he shouts to know where he's headed, and she replies she's returning him home. 3 hours later, they sail above a border town under night sky. Suddenly, she lets go, sending him dropping in terror. He smashes through treetops when dropped, and the mighty fall knocks him roughly to the ground. Groaning and nursing his head with pain, he finally steadies himself and remains vigilant. Peering ahead, the dragon slayer marvels at the blaze of city lights on the horizon. Perplexed, he wonders aloud whether such brilliance belongs to a city of humans. From behind, the Silver Queen, now human, assures him it is indeed the realm of humans. With a sly grin, she asks if seeing the city makes him think he can return and warns he can't go back, even nearby. Without warning, the mark on his chest shines with an intense hue of purple luminescence. The woman reveals when one marked by the dragon desires strongly, the other's mark responds. She playfully taunts the warmth within him, prompting him to ask if she intends to act here and now. She smiles and admits she brought him here so before his home he might fully know shame. Clutching his chest, he assures her he won't lose resolve, grabs her, and vows double repayment for every slight. His boldness momentarily leaves the adversary utterly at a loss for words. Taken aback, she quietly agrees, her cheeks tinged with a hint of shy color. Drawing near, she whispers she'll be waiting regardless of his fate, Later, they rest together beneath a tree by the Empire's border. In each other's arms, their satisfaction is apparent as she lies content beside her weary mate. Despite his fatigue, she remarks with cheer at how well he performed. Soon after, the playful queen suggests returning monthly to let him glimpse his birthplace. Annoyed, he stands and chides her for acting as if draining fortitude is her sole intention. Preparing to depart, she says their daughter awaits at home, but his plea to wait renders her curious. He claims, as a dragon slayer, he shouldn't be led like Quarry and insists he travels alone. Despite the journey exceeding 10 days, she doubts him, but he assures her not to doubt human strength. With a daring smile, she wishes to see how long he'll last. Soon, he staggers with effort beneath the trees. He pauses, breathless, ultimately drained and unable to continue his arduous trek. She catches him, offers help, but he stubbornly refuses to admit his exhaustion. With a mocking grin, she claims only his stubbornness is sturdy, irritating him until a tense standoff ensues. Abruptly, through the leaves, he notices a host of dragon slayer warriors nearing. As a result, hope flares within. He imagines their arrival might deliver him from the dragon. But next to him, the creature's face grows harsh. He knows any call for help means instant death. Right then, a knight lifts his hand to halt their party. Moments later, the squad leader turns, wondering if the pair has lost their way. With a tense grin, the young man says they are on a walk, determined not to risk others' lives. The knight cautions of the wood's dangers, offers aid, and reveals he's Walker from the 47th Dragon Slayers. Thanking him, the young man refuses the help, insisting they'll manage and urging them to move on. Doubtful, the captain notes he looks familiar and asks if their paths have crossed before. This simple remark sparks fury in the queen's stare, and he notices her ring glow with energy. Swiftly, the young man clutches her hand to stop any aggressive action. He hides this by hugging her, saying the captain must be mistaken. He also claims his is a common face, whispering for her trust as the leader observes her apparent agreement. With a chuckle, the captain takes his leave, promising not to disturb their romance again. Once the soldiers have gone, the pair watches the cart vanish into the darkness. She glares, asking if that hug was enough, then suddenly shoves him, making him retreat. Still, she admits his discretion was clever, and offers a word of warning. She chastises him, stressing to remember his place and makes clear she never saw herself as his wife. She soon points out their long journey and strides ahead. He's hit by pain, clutches his arm. His sight swims, but he struggles after her while she pulls further away. Before long, his body surrenders and he collapses amidst the forest trees. Spotting him groggy on the ground, she asks dryly if he's truly fainted, then calls him frail and releases her aura. She gathers him up from the leaves, prepared to carry him back herself. Becoming a dragon, she throws him skyward before catching him gently in her mouth. He then lies senseless on her back as she soars, and she takes his collapse as silent mercy. Daybreak brings the story back to the shining silver castle of dragons. Within its walls, the young warrior awakens alone upon a soft and welcoming bed. At his side, little Mune joyfully welcomes her father's return. He, bewildered, asks how, to which she replies that mother brought him home. This makes him recall the queen's capture, a memory filled with helplessness. He soon focuses on his hand, freshly wrapped after its injury. The child eagerly announces that she dressed his wound herself. Watching her, he contemplates the violent reputation of dragons. Despite this, he notices she shows only affection, perhaps because she's mixed-blooded. Smiling, he praises her skill, delighting her, then jokes not to follow her mother's ways, but she looks puzzled. Suddenly, Rossweisse enters, questioning if being like herself is truly wrong. Startled, he quickly denies it as she brings a tray, while their daughter proudly tells how she dressed his wound with her instructions. The dragon, barely emotive, remarks it was simply her duty to help. The girl respectfully agrees, and he thinks over her mother's sternness. He suggests they play, sending his daughter to hide outside. She's thrilled for hide-and-seek with her dad. He urges her forward, saying he isn't as strict as her mother and warns her to dash along. Counting begins as Mune races away, asking him to slow down while he watches her sprint. Not long after, he spins around to address the queen directly. Annoyed, he questions if she's being overly stern on their little one. The queen claims harshness makes dragons strong. He objects, mentioning gentleness, but she rejects that as disgraceful for dragons. He grins and teases the queen, saying she can act awfully charming at times. Her mood sours instantly. With anger, she forcefully seizes his shirt. He then yells he is merely there for her frustrations and should stop trying to get close. Startled into silence, he's informed by Rossweisse, who says she'll focus on her royal duties and child-rearing falls to him. As their conversation eases, she embraces him, admitting their daughter cares for him deeply. Immediately, the setting moves to the picturesque castle gardens. Wandering amid the greenery, he wryly muses about the absurdity of his new babysitter role. And an unfamiliar noise from afar abruptly draws his attention. Soon he spots Mune hidden behind a pillar, smiles, and calls out that he has found her. But the girl stands motionless, not reacting, so he studies her more attentively. He notices the girl's upset look and quietly wonders what made her so angry. Feeling awkward, he tries to offer an apology for having kept her waiting. Suddenly, the girl whirls and dashes off, leaving him bewildered by her actions. He raises his voice, questioning her reason for fleeing from him. Confused, he wonders aloud where she disappeared after he thought he just saw her pass. He realizes predicting a young child's feelings is nearly impossible. It suddenly makes sense to him why the queen entrusted him with caring for her. In a flash, Mun leaps onto his back gleefully, declaring she's caught her father. Stunned, he asks if she hadn't just run past him seconds before. She answers that she went searching for him because he couldn't find her. Puzzled by her words, he questions his own memory as Mun invites him to follow and see something. From a distance, another girl observes in silence while water gently cascades down the wall. Meanwhile, Moon softly hummed to herself, concentrating on her sketching. Behind her, her father's gentle face revealed a peaceful smile. He realized that raising a daughter brought him unexpected serenity and comfort. He quietly vowed to help her flee the Dragon Queen when she suddenly showed him a family picture she'd drawn. Upon seeing the picture, he was surprised to find 2 children were depicted. Curious, he asked who the second child was, and she disclosed that it was her sister. Stunned by the news that Muan had a sister, he realized he had unintentionally reached 2 with one goal. He then recalled the other girl in the garden and finally understood her earlier resentment. Angry shyness. She distant shyness given they had only just become acquainted. Fast blamed the woman for their distance and decided he must directly challenge her soon. Way in the study, the queen worked intently, her eyes rising from her books solemn and poised. Just then the man stormed in, his voice booming as he called out her name. She met him with calm composure and inquired about Mune's whereabouts. He shared that their daughter played with her sister and questioned when she'd reveal his other child. She subtly smiled, asking if he truly hadn't already sensed the truth. Then he grateful said she'd truly given him 2 daughters, admitting her devotion and care. Next, he swore to add her name to their lineage, which drew clear annoyance from her. The queen inquired whether he understood why Noah's existence had been hidden. He accused her of hiding Noah out of jealousy toward his bond with Moon. Looking surprised, she questioned if he was truly that anxious to finally meet his daughter. The warrior expressed his wish to bond with their daughters, aiming to differ from her cold approach. With a sly smile, she warned him against possible regrets, as sunshine filled the kitchen gently. Clutching a knife with resolve, he decided to conquer his shy daughter's heart by cooking her a splendid meal, imagining the queen's regret. Recalling the children's favorite sweet stew he made in the battalion, he tasted it, pleased his skills were unchanged. Confidently, he believed his cooking's special taste would win everyone's affection before long. Outdoors, the maids observed with interest and agreed the prince truly cared after his recovery. Suddenly, Rossweisse entered accompanied by the girls, and the queen let the maids off for the evening, encouraging their rest. Once they reached the dining room, he greeted them warmly, noting their perfect timing. Mun rushed to embrace her father, remarking on the delicious scent, and he joyfully announced stew and steak made specially for them. He wondered tenderly if Noah might sense his affection in the meal, but she simply looked away, openly dismissive, and left him stunned. His frustration grew as he realized reality was so far from the happy scene he'd pictured in his mind. Inwardly, he blamed Rossweisse, convinced she'd foreseen this and kept him from Noah for this reason. Resolute, the queen instructed her daughter to introduce herself. Noah obliged by naming herself. She added she was Noah K. Mel, the daughter of Rossweisse, sovereign of silver dragons. The warrior then introduced himself as Leon Cosmo, her father, striving for closeness, but was met with clear indifference. Uneasily, he suspected the child might secretly resent him for some reason. Noticing the tension, Moon softly urged her sister to talk more and spare their father discomfort. With folded arms, Noah doubted his paternal claim, saying he seemed far too feeble. Though her assertion struck him deeply, he felt an ache from her unyielding question. Inwardly hurt, he fretted about having a headstrong daughter and facing fatherhood's first challenge. The dinner, meant to be joyous, turned into an incredibly uncomfortable night for Leanne. Though they shared features, he noticed the sisters' personalities diverged, Noah echoing her mother. Smiling hopefully, he asked if she liked his cooking, but No said the meat was too tough to eat. The queen, watching the exchange, let slip a small and amused chuckle. When Moon questioned her joy, she answered that sharing a meal together made her content. Afterward, teasing him about his feelings, she got a hesitant agreement in return. Mun then asked Dad if he could eat with them daily, and though he agreed hesitantly, the older sister loudly protested the idea. The younger wondered at her objection, so No explained she wished to enroll in Young Dragon's Academy soon. Rossweisse reminded her the academy was for older dragons and questioned her haste to enroll. Noah declared she wished to defeat dragon hunters now, astonishing her father, who understood with shock she wanted to best him. He tried to alert her that those warriors were quite powerful and their path dangerous. Noah snapped at not being treated as a child while he mused she really was only that. The queen again agreed, asserting that early learning would help her join battles quicker. Afterward, she pressed him to argue further, but understanding it would damage his image, he quickly switched strategies. At last, still hesitant, he permitted their demand, saying it was all right. Then he grasped Rossweisse's purpose, imagining her monstrous, seeing her using Noah to unsettle him. Harboring private revenge, he heard her declare his new obligation, preparing Noah for exams in a month. Eagerly accepting her mother's instruction, Noah soon watched Moon happily reveal her satisfied stomach. Once the girls left, he signaled Rossweisse, saying they must wash dishes, confusing her greatly. With a calm reply, she assured him the servants would handle that duty. He explained that family dinners should conclude with the couple working together to clean. Whispering, he urged her to create a peaceful family image for their daughters, even if untrue. Ross noticed their youngest watching them with hopeful eyes. Seeing the child's look, the queen gave in, and Mun immediately volunteered to help as well. Noah seized her sister's hand, pulled Moon close, and declared she would be coming along. Once the girls left, silence filled the kitchen, with only soiled dishes remaining in the sink. Ross glanced at her partner, inquiring about when he intended to lend his help. With a confident smile, he asked if she had forgotten his words from 2 years ago. He briefly recounted his advice to avoid being alone with fierce dragon hunters, and this startled her. The queen, wary, questioned his intentions. He vowed not to be deceived by her this time. Irritated, she lashed out with her tail and challenged if he believed he could get away. Yet he effortlessly caught her attack with one bare hand. He grasped her tail and asked whoever claimed his wish was to flee. Surprised by his sudden grip, the queen gasped in alarm, lost balance, and sank to her knees in confusion. He revealed he'd learned a dragon tail's weakness, smiling as he asked if she still felt so powerful now. Approaching, he commented that dragons tend to want to possess and control all things. He then questioned if dragons had ever experienced being controlled, leaving her stunned and breathless. Ross remained flushed and unmoving on the floor. Soon she insisted on being freed, but Leon reminded her of the shame he once endured for her. He suggested trying something new, which sparked a passionate outburst of words from her. The woman quickly sprang into action, determined to break free from his grasp. Meanwhile, the maids wondered if the prince's day was finally over. They entered and were impressed by the spotless kitchen, wondering if the prince had cleaned. One maid beamed, charmed by the gleam on a perfectly scrubbed plate. From the door's narrow opening, the dragon silently observed their exchange. Once he hushed her, reminding her the maids must not witness this scene. Just then the kitchen door swung shut. The young woman shot him a thunderous glare. He moved closer and announced it was time to start. Resolute eyes met hers, which for a moment seemed filled with vulnerability. 3 days afterward, in the great halls of the kingdom's grand castle, Moon, curious, asked if their father had died from too much sleep and decided to check now. A gentle kick to the man's face woke him with pain and left him shocked by the harsh treatment. As his eyes opened, he startled the younger girl, who hadn't expected him to wake so swiftly. The little one immediately dashed off to find Rossweisse. While he wondered when he'd fainted, she coolly asked if he needed a reminder of the events. Leon then remembered the single, musically timed punch that took him down that evening. As he sat upright in bed, he mused that most would not survive such harshness. Yet he had to admit, her beauty defied her years. The girls inquired about his look, but Noah only explained she'd been admiring their mother. Ross subtly knocked a floral ornament from the vanity, making the warrior face her fast. He then calmly lifted the delicate accessory. With kindness, he placed the flower in her hair, complimenting how well it suited her. He promptly asked if he'd offered those words to all women. He replied that in his youth, his focus was only on looking after his uncle's donkey. Yuen, intrigued, questioned what a donkey was. He called it a big-eared animal, much like their mother. His words earned him another piercing glare from her. He swiftly landed a powerful punch on his stomach. The girls asked after his well-being, and he affirmed it, though he still felt the ache. The matriarch announced she'd teach the girls to write, prompting his protest at not being asked first. New cheered the idea. Noah claimed independence. Then both ran to the library, choosing the purple pencil. Left alone with the dragon, Ross told him her sister was coming and mustn't see the daughters. Curious, he asked why her family couldn't visit, so she revealed he was now Leon Cosmo, a dragon awakened after 2 years. She urged him to memorize the last name if he crossed paths with her sister. He acknowledged her instructions by stating he understood Her Majesty's command. Watching her go, he doubted whether the queen expected him to truly follow her orders. Instead, he decided to disgrace her completely before her own sister. Inside the temple's study, the lesson began. Leon showed his daughters how to write, urging focus. Then he wrote down their names, asked them to study the writing and try copying them. Noah complained his script looked awful, insisting their mother's handwriting was neater. Yoon asked his intentions, and the dragon replied he had to return an item to their mother. Before leaving, Leon warned he'd check their work, prompting Noah to call him foolish, while her sister remarked on his cheerful mood, but Noah just said he wrote fast, blushing faintly. Her cheeks turned pink, and meanwhile, the city gate of the temple welcomed an esteemed guest. Arriving was Isabelle Melk, sovereign of the Red Dragons. She quickly hugged Rossweisse, delighted at their long-awaited reunion. Isabelle mentioned it had been a year since their last meeting and complimented her twins' improved well-being. She wondered aloud why her brother-in-law was absent, having heard of his recovery. Rossweisse lied, explaining he was unwell, and the queen sadly said she'd miss meeting the dragon who charmed her twin. She joked they must be close, considering how quickly they'd had children. Rossweisse denied emotions for him, declaring their union had no deeper meaning. Isabelle replied her pride hadn't changed, and then Ross suggested a stroll and talk in the garden. Seen from afar, sisters walked together, arms entwined. Through a telescope, the captive watched and recognized Rossi's sister below. Face resolute, he resolved to test the effect of the dragon mark's power. Meanwhile, Isabelle discussed recent trouble plaguing the fire dragon king's realm. Plaguing the fire dragon? Hearing this, Rossweisse recalled Constantine and, picturing a fire dragon, asked if he had vanished, while her sister guessed he sought to broaden his domain of music. Suddenly, a symbol on her chest emitted a blinding light, linking her to someone mysteriously. Isabella inquired if something was wrong, but the warrior pretended it was nothing and changed the topic. Inwardly, she blamed Leon, convinced he was the reason behind her strange sensation. Not long after, she recommended that they strengthen border defenses to avoid trouble. She sensed the dragon mark's influence coursing even more powerfully through her body. Her sister noticed her sweating and gently asked if she was feeling well. Rossweisse quickly excused herself, claiming she needed to handle an urgent issue and would return. When Isabelle tried to go with her, she politely declined, saying it truly wasn't needed. The queen realized it was the dragon's mark, musing how youth loves their mischief today. Relaxing, Leon wondered how long Rossweisse could last before she stormed in and called his name, making him marvel at her speed. She seized him and demanded to know if he triggered the mark just to embarrass her before her sister. Feigning innocence, he said, "Is it my fault for missing you?" and left her at a loss for words. His shocking words made her blush fiercely and took her completely off guard. Liam thought at least he had managed to deal her a clever blow, so the result was good. Rose sharply told him prisoners shouldn't act so forward and asked him to hold his tongue. She knew inwardly she'd been tricked again, as she meant to scold him, yet he simply made a face. He reflected that only a single sentence was enough to astonish her, revealing the mark's strength. Yet he wondered why his heart raced for her, then scolded himself to stop with such troubling thoughts. Suddenly he recalled the girls might be waiting, now less susceptible than before. He pondered the reason for his delay in returning to their company. As Rossweisse's sister reached the city gates, she bid farewell outside the Silver Dragon Temple. She waved, saying she would go now, and Rose returned the smile, wishing her safe travels home. Already transformed, the visitor insisted on meeting Rossweisse's husband, and she promised an introduction next time. Afterwards, she took flight into the shadows of the night sky. The Silver Queen watched with a stern gaze, vowing to teach the dragon hunter a real lesson. Elsewhere, Leon sneezes while reading, suspecting the dragon lady might be speaking poorly of him. He glances up to see Moon and Noah peacefully sleeping in their bed. Quietly, he tucks the blanket snugly to keep them warm through the night. He steps out softly, careful not to disturb the pair, moving without a sound. Just as he reaches the door, someone abruptly shuts it before he can leave. Rossweisse blocks his exit and asks if her sister has already departed. Annoyed, she points out their unsettled matters remaining for the day. With no regard for his resistance, she forces him down the corridor amidst his complaints. Soon, they reach the regal quarters of the Silver Dragon Queen, as a wooden basin of steaming water is brought in. Leo brings the warm water, asking with curiosity what purpose it will serve. She says she's weary and commands him to assist her in washing her feet. Her sudden instruction leaves Leo stunned, unable to mask his shock. She insists he comply, claiming this to be his penalty for the earlier events. Unwilling, the former hunter kneels and silently resents having to tend to the dragonist. Touching her foot, he quietly ponders how many others like him have been under her heel. Rosa frowns, wondering why he simply stares at her feet motionlessly. Flushed, she doubts his motives, suspecting a liking for feet, and impatiently orders him to start. Her feet, enveloped in the water, prompt her to shriek as it's too hot, lashing out in reflex. Force catapults Leon backward, leaving him reeling from the blow. She accuses him of using hot water as a way of getting even. With a sly grin, he reminds her that washing her feet was at her insistence. Rossweisse remarks he has failed to understand the lesson she wishes to teach. She placed her foot squarely on his chest, inquiring if he foresaw falling under a dragon's tread. Next, she muses aloud about what might occur should she press a special spot. Pressure mounts, forcing pain and discomfort to twist his features. Leon begs her to stop, feeling awkwardly caught between embarrassment and enjoyment. In turn, the dragoness taunts him, eager to watch him test his limits further. Yet he chooses not to give in to the woman's iron-willed commands. With quick reflexes, he seizes her foot with firm resolve. Leon then remarks he has tasted many legs, but never those of a dragon. Stunned by the threat, Rose hesitates while he bites her leg, vowing to eat raw dragon claws. Roar fills the castle as the queen swears vengeance on Leon Cosmo. The following morning, Moon awakes in bed, still drowsy. She curiously questions her mother about limping, but Rossweisse assures her it's nothing. She quickly quizzes Leon about his bandage, getting only dismissals, and grows puzzled at them. She beams, convinced they had fun, and declares her wish to join the game as well. Beyond the castle's gardens, Leon and Rossweisse stroll together in deep silence. Ahead, she strides with agitation while he trails right behind her. Watching from afar, two maids whisper that it looks much like a lover's outing. Still, one notes it's odd that the queen and prince do not appear very close at all. Rossweisse strides onward in silence as he awkwardly remains unsettled by the setting. He finally speaks, asking her directly why they are taking this particular walk. Not long ago, he'd actually refused her suggestion to stroll through the grounds. She'd replied then that this display kept their family image intact for everyone's sake. Now he grows suspicious, thinking her unusual behavior hints at some unknown scheme. Hidden away way, Mun remarks that her father doesn't even know how to hold her mother's hand. Confidently, she vows to act, running to them despite Noah and her sister telling her to stop. Suddenly, the little girl appears nearby, prompting Leon to ask in surprise how she arrived. Un quickly clasps one hand from each and brings Leon and Rossweisse together. She cheerfully explains that they must hold hands to walk. Hid and the girls find it adorable, but No believes the mother is the odd one out. He considers how holding hands deeply affected Rossweisse, presuming she struggles to bond with the girls. He notes the girls call her mother and Rossweisse asks why, to which he says mommy and daddy together is closer but their way feels distant. The Silver Queen wonders aloud whether the difference in such words is truly significant. Smiling, the hunter suggests encouraging the girls to call her mommy, stunning Rossweisse into silence. She agrees to start doing that, swiftly pulling him along while he complains they're walking too fast. Ross asks if he feels homesick, offering comfort as she leads him toward a castle storeroom behind the mountain. Leon inquires about the place, and she admits it remains without a name. As she opens the door, she tells him to simply think of it as a storage or back room. Once inside, she says the name is unimportant, and Leon is impressed, asking if it's a dragon's storeroom. He soon spots his grandmother's bracelet, noting its immense value within the empire. Rossweisse explains that certain objects here have meaning for her, while some are spoils of battle. Later, he prompts her about her family, and the Silver Queen shares she and her sister were raised by their grandmother. Leon relates growing up in an orphanage, taken in by his master, and asks what she truly planned to show him. The woman heads to a chest and assures him its secret will give him some peace. She lifts the lid, revealing his cherished armor, and Rossweisse asks if he's longed to recover it. Stunned, he questions if this is a dream, and if she'll honestly give the armor back. With a sly smile, she assures him that she certainly will. The instant he makes contact with the armor, magical runes flare brighter than before. Lee sees the runes and mourns that his friend has fallen so low. Rossweisse, satisfied, declares triumphantly that he has finally fallen into her cleverly set trap. With energy swirling, Leon angrily demands to know what Rossweisse has just done to him. Her smile wide, she reveals she placed a dragon's mark on his armor, triggered by his touch. The mark's activation, the captive's hand spasms painfully. He clutches his chest, lamenting his misplaced faith in the cunning dragon. Wearing a triumphant grin, the queen reveals the mark's effect will double in intensity. Moments later, she grasped his chin with a smirk and challenged his resolve while he struggled to speak her name, tense and determined. Just then, she forced him back and he toppled, completely outmatched. Pinned beneath her, urgency swept through him. Rossweisse revealed she'd been seeking a moment of weakness in him, surprised that he surrendered so simply. Stunned and red-faced, Leon gazed at her silently as she triumphantly inquired if her act was believable. Taken aback, he questioned whether all she confessed about her family and tender gestures was false. Coming closer, Rossweisse confirmed her stories were true, though it would not deter her intentions regarding him. Touching herself, the Silver Queen recalled his earlier words about her preference for authority, reminding him pointedly. Beaming, she admitted she truly relished being the one in command. She asked sweetly if her beloved was prepared, then kissed him, causing him to mutter under his breath. As the heavy doors shut, sealing his fate, hours passed until the dragon hunter gave a relieved cry, believing the ordeal finished. Ross, satisfied, lay beside him. Annoyed, Leon demanded what she wanted next. Holding his chin, she noted gently that his scars were fading and he now looked wiser. Furious, the captive declared loudly that he would never be ensnared by her again. As she dressed, the woman commented wryly that he seemed to have grown clever too. But then she paused thoughtfully, causing Leon to grow uneasy. With playful mischief, she stated his body had weakened considerably. Confused, Leon demanded an explanation. Her claim about his decline left him appalled. Hearing it again, he froze in despair, Queen's words echoing, prolonging the shame in his mind. As a gentle sun rose over the sprawling castle, a new day began. Looking weary, Leon unlocked the door and inquired about the identity of the visitor. Rossweisse cheerfully greeted him, while Noah stood waiting in silence behind her. With a sly grin, she remarked it seemed he had not slept well at all. Leon questioned her pointedly about the cause, but she feigned complete innocence. Watching them, the young girl simply presumed another round of bickering had started. Rossweisse then explained that he must teach in preparation for the school's demanding assessment. She teased him, saying he could only prove himself in other ways after yesterday's result. Leon, upset, argued that he simply hadn't been at his best the previous May. He swore he'd pass but wanted a reward, and the Silver Queen agreed as long as he didn't overdo it. With fierce resolve, the dragon accepted her terms while Rossweisse wished good luck and cautioned moderation, which annoyed him. Noah wondered about their argument, and Liam explained that's simply how they spoke to each other. Taken aback, he asked what she had called Rossweisse, and the girl said mommy again, cradling her book. He wondered if Noah liked calling her mommy, and she shyly affirmed that she did. Leon grinned with delight, since he'd guessed she would find comfort in that name. Blushing at his happiness, the small child grew quiet, a little uneasy. Moments after, she said it was time for their study session and walked ahead, Dad asking her to slow down. In the study room of the Silver Dragon's castle, two small critters were making themselves at home. The young man nearby focused intently on his studies. A Valkyrie neared to ask why he was still awake, and he admitted to making a special plan since she needed more than easy lessons. Confidently, he insisted she could pass any test with just a month of effort. Proudly, the woman claimed the girl took after her, but his sly smile said he doubted that claim. Next, he bragged about his own genius and all of his school accreditations and awards. He pressed for the queen's accomplishments, surprising her to silence. The warrior was still stunned, realizing his impressive intellect paired with his strength. Still, she poked fun at his defeat by asking how he became her captive, while he yelled his loss had happened just once. While he moped over his defeat, the blonde teased him about the queen's dominance and spotted some peppers. He asked him what he planned to do with the peppers. He said they'd come from the kitchen to help keep him awake, but she explained they were intense yellow dragon clan peppers and warned he couldn't handle them. Despite her warning, he ate one and was soon screaming from their searing heat. With burning lips, he frantically searched for water for relief. He gently placed her hands on his cheeks to soothe his unsettled spirit. Once the unforeseen kindness stunned him into silence. Feeling uneasy, she admitted that she hoped her cool hands would offer him relief. Then he noticed the delightful chill of her fingertips, marveling at the gentle comfort they brought. He soon expressed his thanks and assured her he'd improved, after which they both withdrew awkwardly, embarrassed by the intimacy of the scene. With a gentle command, the Valkyrie told him to rest in bed and avoid spicy foods. While she departed, a fleeting wish stirred in him, longing for her touch to linger. Yet frustration soon washed over him as he remembered how cunningly the dragon tricked him. Nevertheless, he promptly resumed his reading, with renewed resolve to restore himself. Rummaging through a book, he ignored other remedies until his gaze stopped on a page about the dragon Big Force. A grateful grin spread across his face, for now he knew what would help him recover. When morning came, he announced that he had reviewed her practice exam. He guessed she scored 50 points. He revealed with encouragement she'd actually achieved a score of 62, exceeding her guess. Even so, her small fists clenched in disappointment she struggled to conceal. It was clear to him that her standards for herself were incredibly high. He realized she differed from Mu because instead of playing, she was intent on her studies. To lift her spirits, he patted her head, praising the 62 points, while she thanked him and suggested they address her mistakes together. Then a cough interrupted and he apologized, explaining the peppers from yesterday were to blame for his sore throat. As this happened, a fair girl arrived to visit Noah, letting her know that her father had labored through the night. She went on to say that to keep from dozing off, he had eaten intense yellow peppers and kindly handed him a small container as a gift. Incredulous, he inquired if it was really for him, and she assured him it was, mentioning it had been sent by her mother. Beaming, he asked her to thank her mother and quietly wondered at such warmth. Then they happily chose to continue their lessons, which brought them closer as family. Later, in the castle's kitchen, preparations were neatly in place for the day. Soon, 2 attendants arrived with all the items needed, and he requested they leave everything behind for him. All the while, he mused he'd requested trivial things to keep his plot hidden, pondering that even with everyday ingredients, the potion's failure rate stayed high. He began by crushing and blending the components, then gradually added them to the boiling pot. After hours, he found himself frustrated at yet another defeat, regretting each repetition of the manual's advice when he couldn't pass the purification phase. The separation process relied on high heat, easily neutralizing any beneficial effect of the cure. He realized, therefore, that a better method was needed to remove medicinal impurities. In that very moment, a flash of lightning brightened the evening while he, sitting, gazed out and noted rain would soon follow. But when his gaze caught a lightning strike, inspiration unexpectedly struck him. He recalled the old advice from his tutor that sometimes where heat failed, electrolysis could work. Excitement bubbled as he resolved to try magical distillation, but still doubted if his magic strength was quite enough yet. He insisted, however, that his magic control was precise despite modest power. Soon, just 30 minutes, a tiny pill in his palm, he relished victory, grinning that crafting dragon elixir was child's play. Unexpectedly, his daughter arrived, curiously inquiring about her father's current activity. He was momentarily still, then startled, he called her name on recognizing her. As he tried to deflect, the child questioned if father was secretly keeping candy. He swiftly replied that it was medicine meant for her mother, prompting the child to ask if Rosie was unwell. To ease her worries, he claimed it was just to aid her mom's recovery, though truthfully he'd prepared it for himself. With cheer, Mun asked him to care for mommy. He warmly promised, thinking care would soon be within reach. Meanwhile, the rains poured on the fortress as the alchemist quietly pondered possible effects for humans. As a result, he set the potion aside for now, battling rising frustration. Just then, a noise at the entryway made him look up with sudden curiosity. Caught off guard, he asked why Her Majesty had found her way into his chamber. His visitor explained she heard from their child about the special health potion he'd created. Blushing, he grumbled about his daughter's quick tongue. Soothing him, she added surprise that he could concoct potions with so simple a setup. Next, she requested a look at his newest creation. He surrendered the box, resigned that she would take it regardless. After she opened the container, the woman commended his mastery in crafting dragon strength under such dire circumstances. Startled by her compliment, he doubted her sincerity. Rossweisse let him keep the elixir, cautioning not to use it yet. Anxiously, he pleaded for the reason behind the restriction. She revealed the potion's power would overwhelm a human body, making him question its potency. The queen insisted her warning was for his safety, for no human could bear it. Indignant, he claimed he'd bested several dragons and rebuked her doubts. He disregarded the caution and swallowed the pill, stating courage defines humanity while Rossweisse cried his name in alarm. At once the pill's force raged within him, prompting the warrior to rush over and chide him, reminding she lacked healing abilities. She clasped him close, vowing to attempt to counteract the potion's effect. Through agony, he writhed while she begged him to remain still. With energy arcing inside, he met the Valkyrie's gaze and claimed this is true courage. Rain drumming, energy clustered about the palace until blue lightning engulfed him, and the queen, alarmed, wondered why he turned the magic upon himself. Despite agony, he bore the electricity till he blacked out, and she caught him before he could fall. With him lying down, Rossweisse questioned his sanity, then turned to summon the physician. Her movement was halted by his sudden grasp, leaving the Valkyrie startled by his action. He seized her tail with a dreamy smile and a fleeting motion. Annoyed, she demanded to know what he was doing this time. Beaming, he happily called her wife and teased her about her possible destination. Utterly shocked, she demanded to know whom he was addressing so intimately. She insisted he let go, but he stubbornly called her his wife. The warrior suspected his confusion stemmed from lightning magic. She figured that despite his foolish antics, he clearly wasn't in great peril. Relenting to his pleas, she inquired about his most urgent desire. The alchemist grinned, expressing his wish to have another child with his beloved. Her response was stunned silence and red cheeks. Scolding him to look after their current children, he insisted on a third. To prevent more chaos, she played along, agreeing to another child and a trip home when ready. While he rejoiced, she found his affectionate mood more irksome than his usual self. Then he praised and leaned in to kiss her. The queen shoved him aside, warning him to behave as she quietly awaited the medicine's end. She called him a fool, struck his face, then sighed that she simply couldn't resist doing so after he collapsed on the bed. Worried, she leaned closer and softly inquired about his condition. Abruptly, he awoke and told her with puzzlement that he felt odd. In that instant, the warrior became alarmed when spotting a shadowy mark forming on his chest. She questioned how the dragon's sigil emerged now, just as he tightened his grip on her shoulder. As he guided her toward the bed, she protested, but he insisted that his sensations were unusual. He revealed an overwhelming heat and heavy heartbeat, and the queen realized the joined powers raised his craving for energy. He embraced her by the tail, quietly admitting love while she doubted her strength to bear this longer. Annoyed, she shoved him away, demanding he let her go as her tail pressed along the floor. Just then, the alchemist stopped and lightly touched her lips with a finger. His voice softened as he complimented her knight's beauty. She sensed his resolve growing unyielding. At that moment, she doubted if perhaps she too quietly wished for the same thing. With kindly words, he asked her help, and embarrassed, she agreed, but set the promise for just that night. They soon shared a private, wordless moment, drawn together by the storm that raged outside. Morning brought warmth as sunlight spilled over the palace rooftops. Leon stirred sore from last night, while Ross sat watching and asked if he was awake at last. He recoiled, demanding to know why she lingered, while Bendy complained of aching across their limbs. Puzzled, he searched for answers as she teased, revealing the dragon's scars on his back. A hunter shouldn't forget. Music stunned, he questioned if he alone was to blame for those unexpected bite marks. Just then, sharp visions of the night before came rushing back to him. Recalling the memories, Leon cried out in embarrassment while she asked if he now remembered pleading with her. As panic held him, Rosa repeated his prior words until he begged her to stop, unsure he wanted full recall. He contemplated that he'd created the potion for health, never guessing how intense its outcome would become. Leon confessed he'd overdone things and asked if he'd harmed her, but she reassured him she was unharmed. With a smile, he stated that now she knew his body well and could no longer claim he couldn't handle it. Rossweisse simply stared at him with an intense expression. Then she came closer and he asked what was wrong. She grabbed his chin, praising his performance and saying she expected him to keep it up. Indignant at the comment, Leon asked if he had now become her servant. Changing the subject, she mentioned the bet they had made about the treatments. She then admitted defeat and asked if he had already thought about what he wanted as a reward. Liam replied with a sice smile that he had already decided. Then he asked her to send someone to check on his master and his master's wife in the Empire. Rossweisse explained that a visit was possible, leaving him deeply grateful for the help. Soon after, he composed himself and thanked her more formally. Elsewhere in the garden of the Silver Dragon Sanctuary, Mun approached and asked if her father was sick. Surprised, Lion denied it and wanted to know why she was asking. Nu then revealed that her mother told her it was he who took the medicine and that men couldn't say they were sick. He became furious, questioning how Ross could say such things to a child and reflecting on his dignity. While the little one kept insisting on knowing if he was still sick, Leon scolded her and ended up biting his lip, making it bleed. Seeing the blood, Mune panicked and begged him not to die, saying she couldn't live without him. Liam calmed her, assuring her that he was fine while thinking that she really reminded him of her mother, especially her bluntness. To distract her, he offered to make a new toy and Mune excitedly celebrated the idea. With that, Leon began assembling a small colorful cue with his tools. Then he presented the magic cue and explained that she could turn its parts however she wanted, leaving the girl thrilled. He reflected that he had never thought of using his mechanical skills to care for children and wondered if he had a knack for it. Suddenly his expression changed as he sensed something unexpected in the air. Immediately, he looked carefully toward the garden. Noon asked what it was, but he brushed it off, saying it was nothing. In his thoughts, he remembered feeling for a moment the gaze of a dragon coming from the direction where Noah usually trained. Knowing that she probably wouldn't want to approach, he decided to make a toy for the older girl as well. Later, Noah peeked through the bedroom door while Moo was already asleep. On the table, she found a magic cube with a note from Leon, challenging her to try to solve the puzzle. The girl held the cube, claiming she didn't care about childish toys. Even so, she began to turn the pieces with curiosity. Soon after, Noah hugged the gift with a smile and silently thanked her father. St. Heath Academy stands as a noble institution with stringent requirements for dragons. Students' family weighs heavily as a key factor in their assessment. Because of this, to keep up the image of a united family, Rossweisse gathers all in the floating city. Upon reaching the city, the woman lands in splendorous dragon form as Leon offers to help Moo descend gently. As he assists, the girl wonders why he didn't become a dragon too. He thinks to himself, embarrassed that slaying dragons is his skill, not turning into one. Not long after, Noah raises a suspicious question, asking if he truly cannot. The man is utterly at a loss. Rossweisse clarifies his body hasn't healed enough yet for him to shift to dragon form. Touched, Muen urges her father to heal soon, and though he promises, he doubts it inside. With this exchange finished, the family moves as one toward the city's grand entrance. The girl delights at so many dragons around, but her sister reminds her not to charge ahead. Music Lion begins to shake, which Rossweisse notices. She comments that he'd not met so many dragons since awakening. With playful lips, she asks if perhaps fear is the cause. Yet he insists that he's just thrilled. His eyes glow as he spies fortunes awaiting to be made. She sees now her concern was unfounded, as he's already busy with thoughts of wealth. In moments, a photo studio's bell chimes. The attendant greets the Silver Dragon Queen's family warmly. Inside, Mume excitedly points out the many dragon portraits displayed all about the walls. Leon, curious, asks why Rossweisse must attend in person if kings rule their houses. After she answers, he teases her title isn't as grand as she claims. Frustrated, she swiftly nudges him with her shoe tip. Hunched over, he hears her retort that her rank remains above his own. The photographer remarks it's a privilege, and Rossweisse calls it fortune to receive her appointment. Next asked about Leanne's tail, his partner insists on a suit with nowhere for it. She recalls him once rejecting tail adornments for dignity. The photographer returns and Mune celebrates her beautiful dress choice. Soon the girl and Noah emerge, radiant in their brand new dresses. Afterwards, Leon steps forward neatly dressed in a handsome, crisp white suit. With joy, Mooney tells her father he looks dashing. The photographer notes how well the suit fits, and he remembers he last wore it at graduation. He smiles brightly, turning to ask No for her thoughts. Feeling shy, the girl agrees that he looks handsome, and he admires his daughter's cute dresses in return. Just then, the nearby dressing room reveals Rossweisse in a black dress, and even exclaims, "Mom is stunning." Leon is caught off guard, staring wordlessly at her as she questions his reaction. He stammers, saying the dress suits her. She suggests adding a tail, but he refuses at once. Right after, the girls cheerfully call for their parents to hurry and join them. The photographer then declares it is photo time and urges the pair to stand together. Somewhat unsure, they step close for the photo as the photographer asks them to smile and starts the countdown. Soon, vibrant family photos show each member joyfully posing in a shared embrace. Seeing the pictures, the photographer compliments them warmly, saying they truly fit together. Finally, the photographer told them the photos would need 6 hours and suggested they enjoy the city in the meantime. As they leave, they wave farewell at the studio door, and while walking, Noon draws her sister's attention to a booth. Startled, Rossweisse mentions shopping with her partner, who explains it's to distress before Noah's exam. The girls were soon captivated by prizes at a game stall when a sudden sound frightened the couple. The booth keeper motivated the kids, saying if they kept trying they could hit the mark. Watching attentively, Leon noticed it was a shooting game, prompting excited Moon to call out to him. After watching Noah lose, he realized the setup favored the owner's profits every time. Rossweisse then noted that the game's difficulty was due to faint magical energy traces. Just then, the owner invited the couple to try and possibly win a teddy bear for their kids. The hunter asked the girls if they truly wanted the toy Wish. Despite their firm denials, Wish he sensed their real desire was a heartfelt yes. Without pause, he requested 10 shots, saying Rossweisse would pay, thanked her, and remarked he hadn't used a gun since academy days. He then fired deftly, striking the bullseye on his first attempt. While the booth owner was sure he'd rigged the gun, the targets all fell, astonishing him. Liam basked in his victory as the owner mumbled disbelief, unable to grasp it had happened. New cried, proud of her dad, and his friend could not deny his impressive shot. Accepting the prize, the victor smiled triumphantly and thanked the booth owner sincerely. He gifted teddy bears to his gleeful daughters, and Rossweisse mused that his dedication gave him a certain charm. Soon he caught Ross's lingering glance and wondered at it, while nearby a girl asked her mother for a bear too. A moment later, Ross found herself, to her own astonishment, holding a huge teddy bear gift. Observing the fun, Leon laughed at the vendor's irritation and cheerfully requested 10 more tries. Despite being told not to waste time, he answered he was there for his daughter's joy, and when asked if the woman liked it, she refused, but he insisted he wouldn't leave her empty-handed. She privately conceded the bears, though seemingly pointless, had undeniable charm. With a teddy bear in hand, Rossweisse invited him to her room later in the evening. Leon was startled by her unexpected invitation, and later, the castle's lights set a mood for their meeting. While heading through the corridor, he concluded the summons was for a private affair. He pondered if he went, he'd suffer one night, but staying away would mean longer anguish. Steeling his resolve, he hurried for the bedroom, only to be surprised it was unlocked. He tiptoed inside, softly calling out for Rossi. Hearing water from the bathroom assured him she was bathing at that moment. Through the glass, he saw her shimmering silhouette behind the door. Heartbeat thundering, he reassured himself a special evening awaited. He tried to steady his nerves and watched as the bathroom door inched open. Rose appeared in a nightgown and welcomed him, as Leon realized she meant to exhaust him once again. Ross promptly asked Leon if he preferred the living room or the balcony for their evening. He replied the balcony would be too conspicuous should someone happen to look. Taking his point, she settled on the living room. Remarking that any place was fine, Liam braced himself, closing his eyes in anticipation. He called out that he was all set to start. In a sudden move, he flung himself onto the sofa, leaving her to wonder at his actions. While lying there, the hunter asked, confused, if this wasn't what she had wanted. Rossweisse teased him, saying he seemed excited, but they'd have to wait for another time. As he sat back up, he asked about her scroll, and she revealed it was from Sint. The exam from Hits Academy assessed the pair's habits and personalities, she explained, adding their answers needed to align for a favorable score. After scanning the quiz, Leon wondered aloud if it was nothing more than a light-hearted couples test. He asked for her favorite color, she said black while he picked silver, then they swapped sheets to compare. Both instantly exclaimed in awkward surprise that these results were simply coincidental. Next, one suggested they see how well they knew each other, and the other agreed in return. Soon after, Leon declared he had already completed his answers as part of the test. Comparing answers, he proudly pointed out that he scored higher than she did. Ross thought to herself how impressed she was with the accurate details he remembered, especially about her tail's comfort. But she noticed that the only errors he made were attempts at predicting her thoughts. Though she realized those minor mistakes made sense, since she rarely let anyone too close. Realizing this, she considered allowing herself to open up more to him in the future. He saw her watching him and wondered uneasily if his score had actually upset her. Breaking into laughter, he tried to ease the tension, stating it was tough to ace so soon. He then added that for the best results, understanding each other even more was important. At that remark, Ross blushed furiously, hit him lightly, and told him to quit wasting time and mark the right responses. They then disagreed about a question, her hoping he'd rely on his dragon abilities once more. A week later, Leon celebrated the improvement while Rosa slept in the lab, then said goodbye to depart, pleased. As he rose to leave, she clung to his shirt and quietly asked him to stay for a moment longer. She then suggested he take a bath in her tub before heading out. Surprised, Liam asked if she meant it, but Rossweisse pushed him toward the bathroom, insisting he go now. He pondered in the bathroom about her urgency, quietly questioning if she had a secret plan. Deciding her nerves came from the test, he chose to indulge in peace and slipped into the tub. As warmth surrounded him, tension melted away and he thought the water was truly wonderful. Suddenly, Rossweisse, dressed in only a towel, startled him by stepping inside the bathroom. She strode over, confessing she needed to let go of her stress, and he realized he'd expected this. Raising his voice, he told her to relieve her worries elsewhere instead of involving him. Rossweisse grinned and insisted that easing her strain by sharing it was the finest remedy. Slipping into the bath, she jested he was there for the same reason. Leon silently conceded the point. She warned him all escape was futile and urged him to simply accept his destiny. The awaited entrance exam arrived, and Leon was in awe of St. Hist Academy's imposing beauty. The entryway, he and Rossweisse shared a serious, silent understanding. Gently, the hunter teased her about last night's stress relief, she muttered, but he called her to come in, smiling. Faculty crests adorned the hall, then a receptionist called Cosmo Milkway from the Silver Dragon tribe. When the receptionist saw the clipboard, she was amazed the tiny girl was barely past a year old. Leon inquired if something was wrong, and the receptionist clarified she was surprised as hatchlings usually start at ages 4 to 6, though the minimum is 1 year. Rossweisse mentioned their daughter was gifted, and they supported every decision she made. The staff led them to the 4th floor evaluation while their daughter Noah began her test. Searching the floor, they reached the waiting room, sat on a sofa, and joined 3 others. Ross whispered a question. Did he believe these others to be easy acquaintances? Leon quietly agreed, saying they looked simple to defeat, and his old self would need 50 moves. As people took notice, Leon muttered he'd confront them all if they were unfair to Noah. A man introduced himself as Vice Principal Walter Wilson for the parents' review, and though both smiled, Leon was wary of his intentions. The Vice Principal's first question was about the date of their wedding anniversary. The couple exchanged worried glances, knowing this inquiry was their greatest fear. Recalling the past, Rossweisse fretted about their lack of marriage, while Leon suggested choosing a meaningful day. She started reciting the date they agreed upon, the year 1733 from the creation era. They both beamed, saying it was May 25th when they first met in that dungeon, as the vice principal remarked how swift love and pregnancy arrived, so the hunter spun a tale of instant attraction. When asked by the evaluator about faults in each other, Leon agreed for sincerity as Rossweisse gently dissented, just as planned. Prester clarified while Leon admitted that sometimes he felt insignificant at home. Still, he expressed admiration for Rossweisse's skill and the flawless way she handled life. Even so, he confessed she seemed stressed and hoped to ease her burden, silently wishing she'd stop venting at him. During their exchange, the interviewer asked the dragonist what made her husband most endearing. Rossweisse described him as handsome, clever, and dedicated, listing many admirable features. He forced a smile, uncertain if it was honest praise or mixed jest, until she took his hand and softly cautioned him not to overextend himself. Suddenly, her grip tightened on his hand, causing him a sharp twinge. Observing their interaction, the evaluators deemed them a couple deeply bonded by love. The discussion unfolded with warmth, everyone enjoying the relaxed and cheerful mood inside. Finally, the evaluator suggested each spouse ask the other one last question to conclude. Rose replied she needed no question, for she felt she knew her partner completely. Turning to the hunter, the evaluator found him inwardly seeking a swift end to proceedings. Leon surprised them all by simply asking if she was fond of the teddy bear he had given her. Rossweisse, puzzled, struggled to find the meaning behind his tender yet sudden question. Turning crimson, she confessed shyly that she truly loved the thoughtful present. Content, he smiled and declared he was finished. The evaluator closed things and thanked the pair. Days later, a messenger dragon glided in, prompting Mume to announce the awaited news had come. Excitement filled the room as Leon unrolled the scroll to reveal Noah passed and could now attend the ceremony. Her sisters joyously marked her triumph while their parents regarded the outcome in awe. Adon embraced Noah, praising not just her but also their incredible parents. Rossweisse offered thanks, but he insisted it was Noah's pure merit as she was their daughter. With a contented grin, she declared there'd be a banquet and invited his help so he'd feel wanted, which made him grumble and call her stubborn. The entrance day at his academy arrived, as the headmaster warmly greeted and praised the new students. Meanwhile, families and students listened with focus to the headmaster's words. Soon after, the headmaster called upon the top student Noah K to come forward. He announced that Noah Melevi and her family were to join him on stage. Excitedly, Muin cheered to hear that her beloved parents and sister would deliver a speech, and Leon, Rossweisse, and little Noah headed for the podium. Walking forward, Leon reflected on learning just an hour ago about having to give a speech. Arriving on stage, he accepted he had to face the situation, even with no time to prepare. Then the headmaster asked Noah if she'd like to share thoughts or guidance with her peers. Noah responded that her mother, a mighty dragon, always inspired and encouraged her to stay strong. She next thanked her sister for supporting her, always staying near, which brought her much happiness. Her father wondered if he'd be mentioned, and finally Noah expressed gratitude for his late-night study help. Hearing these words moved him, as Noah gently finished her speech with heartfelt thanks. Then the headmaster playfully urged Leon to express fatherly affection with a kiss for Noah. Anxiously, Leon questioned if this suggestion was an indirect punishment, recalling how she once avoided him. He softly suggested they hug instead to keep things simple and comfortable. Noah insisted on a kiss and wanted to get it over with, causing her father a brief moment of shock. Since she asked, he kissed Noah's forehead, and little Moo, eager herself, was fondly held back by the maid. Nearby, Ross was grateful that she wasn't put in the same position as Leon. The headmaster complimented the Mechi family's loving bond and teased Leon about overlooking his wife after showing such affection to his daughter. Frustrated, Leon thought the remark was out of line, wishing he'd addressed it sooner. But when he saw Noel, he decided not to be bothered by something so minor on this meaningful day. Leon turned to Rossweisse, smiling as he claimed they were the family's heart, and she whispered her disbelief, while he confessed the girls were watching too closely for him to act otherwise. Rossweisse, her nerves high, wondered how Leon remained so composed since she was far too flustered herself. Overcoming her embarrassment, she decided to kiss him, yet he quickly pecked her cheek and stepped aside. This sudden act stunned her completely, leaving her at a loss for words. Her fingers traced her cheek as she wrestled with the reality of what she'd experienced. Liam addressed the onlookers in gratitude even as their pleas for another kiss rang out. Softly spoken to Rossweisse, he confessed he finally felt the burden lifting. The woman, feeling manipulated, quietly promised revenge if only people weren't watching them. After the headmaster dismissed the family for rest outside, each offered farewells, and Rossweisse assured her child she'd fetch her that weekend. Embracing, Nguyen pleaded not to be forgotten while Noah comforted her, and Leon reminded her to care for herself and focus on school. Yet the young girl asserted she wasn't a kid anymore. To this, he disclosed he was simply relaying words his bashful wife never voiced herself. More solemnly, the father urged her to stand up for herself if bullied, promising his unwavering support. Inquisitively, she asked about his past, and Leon recounted always being defeated by her grandfather after fights. Baggy comforted her by promising he wouldn't resort to punishments like her grandfather did. Taking the lesson to heart, No clenched her fists with resolve, and later bright light filled the queen's study in the Silver Dragon Temple. Meanwhile, Rosa studied a blood spell that traded the caster's life, forbidden and dangerous in nature. As she pondered over it, she saw potential for good use through a careful modification of the spell. The door startled her open. Already, her loyal handmaiden knelt and addressed her respectfully as Majesty. The queen next asked for investigation results, and her servant reported with regret no trace yet found of Tiger Lawrence or his partner. When pressed about their vanishing act, Rossweisse learned the couple had covered their trail with care. Rossweisse surmised that Leon's master might be far more than the simple farmer he claimed. She therefore ordered her servant to pursue the investigation and keep her informed of developments. Meanwhile, in the training yard, the hunter wielded his staff and urged Little Moo to attack fiercely. His surprise was great when the girl responded with swift, multiple strikes all at once. From afar, Ross watched their practice, and once the girl spotted her, she called out with delight. The man soon inquired if patrol was done, and she affirmatively replied that it was finished. Rossweisse checked her daughter's behavior with her father. The girl joyfully affirmed her obedience. She informed the family dinner would be steak, instructing her daughter to change before eating. Nan's excitement for steak showed as the maid swiftly whisked her away, her songs trailing behind. When the child departed, the queen turned her attention to speak to the king. Abruptly, he aimed the branch used in training directly at her face in a tense gesture. She questioned if he meant to challenge her, warning that it bordered on treason. Liam countered, "It's only a branch. Do you sincerely think it could be called a weapon?" Still, she pointed out that in his grip as the finest hunter, even a branch became a danger. He simply turned away from her and replied with a silent sigh. Shortly, he requested genuine praise without mockery. She immediately refused. He confessed he only wished to startle her, yet Rossweisse doubted a branch could injure her now. Changing topics, she shared that Noah had written saying all was well at the academy. Liam saw it as minor, yet his mate explained such letters were rare proof of affection from their daughter. Accepting her words, he agreed, remarking the girl's ways echoed her mother's, prompting Ross's stern gaze. She remarked that behind his serious look lay kindness, and their strong daughter held him in great esteem. She described how to their daughter, he seemed an outstanding peer she aspired to beat academically. Relieved, Lean realized his daughter didn't view him just as a frail scholar after all. Ross revealed how Noah visited when he was unconscious, and they recalled how in infancy, only their father could bring peace. That memory held Leon in gentle sleep, with both children resting contentedly at his side. Still, he admitted that the notion of familial bonds sometimes seemed foreign and somewhat elusive. He soon reflected on his orphaned childhood, always seeking the warmth of a family he lacked. At 5, taken in by his master and wife, he grew to understand home, though he still sometimes sensed emptiness when observing other families. He believed happiness would be complete if his beloved guardians were truly his parents. His master reassured him, saying, "Someday you'll have your own children and family, bound by love and blood." With that lesson, Leon deepened his resolve, valuing his newfound family above all else. Rose snapped him from reverie, softly reminding him it was time to return home. He expressed gratitude for her guidance, then suggested they continue their way. And the lady slid her foot closer toward her shoe that rested on the ground. When she noticed his hesitance, she asked for help with her shoes as thanks, which left Liam utterly perplexed by the unforeseen request. Although Rossweisse pressed further, Leon declined to assist, stating that washing her feet had been embarrassing enough and he would not humble himself more. Hearing this, the queen struck his face with her foot and reminded him that he still owed her for the ceremonial kiss. She commanded firmly for him to stop complaining and hurry up, and with no other alternative, Leon started helping her put on the shoe. Rossweisse remarked on how quickly his hands moved, though he muttered about how harder the task was. The comment left his wife beside herself with fury, and swift as lightning, she lunged to knock him over. In response, Leon bolted away, declaring she wouldn't catch him, and Ross pursued him with fierce determination. Few days afterwards, Miam came excitedly to alert her parents that someone had arrived. Shortly after, a massive dragon descended, its might dwarfing Rossweisse's dragon form, which the hunter noticed at once. Still, she explained that despite its imposing size, the Leviathan was gentle and not strong in battle. As he questioned the dragon's nature, she shared that the Academy used it to carry hatchlings, and suddenly a blue ray lifted Noah skyward. Bathed in blue light, the girl announced her return to her mother. Rosa welcomed her as Mune embraced her sister, teary-eyed, and soon after, Noah shyly tried to call Leon father, making him notice her timidity. As they walked onward, a man shared that he and his wife had prepared a grand meal in her honor. Spread on the table lay Noah's report cards displaying flawless scores and top rankings in many subjects. With pride, the queenly mother smiled while Mune admired the marks, and Noah handed her a paper, regretting not ranking first in physical trials. Her mother gently told her not to apologize, and her sister insisted she was truly the best. Observing, Leon felt he must step in. One daughter was too reserved, the other loved to praise too much. So he reviewed the test and explained that younger dragons naturally had less stamina than elders. He also highlighted she had the highest win rate thanks to her strategic talent, and Noah whispered that her mother had perfect grades. Assuring her, Leon admitted he also hadn't been top of his class at first, but reached it through determination. He urged her not to lose spirit and to do her best, and Mune added her encouragement warmly. Mune then asked which parent, given their strength, would win in a fight, startling both adults. At once, each parent claimed victory would be theirs, locking gazes as they silently challenged one another. Leon boasted confidently that none could defeat him in training, clearly claiming strength. With sharp dismissal, Rossweisse stated she'd surpass him no matter his awards and trophies. He teased she married him after losing to him. She countered, saying it was because she won so they had children. After this, he challenged her to settle their rivalry, and as Moon questioned, Noah suggested observing them. A moment later, both spouses stretched before battle, as their daughters watched nearby. Mun voiced curiosity over the outcome, and her sister noted they learned watching skilled veterans. Rossweisse teased her husband, doubting his recovery, and Lean replied he welcomed a duel with the esteemed queen. Seeing his confidence, Rosa proposed a wager, piquing his interest in her suggestion. She said if he won, she'd avoid him for a month, but if she won, he'd fulfill her wish. With a pause, the hunter considered his chances of succeeding in this unusual bet. He immediately began picturing the near-impossible reward of a month's vacation. Delighted by the prospect, Leon pointed at her in acceptance, both glaring playfully as the duel began. Liam and Rossweisse faced each other quietly, settling into battle stances. At the same time, Mun watched fondly from the bench, munching her popcorn with delight. Her excitement made her accidentally knock over her juice. The abrupt sound distracted the couple. As Mun mourned the mess, Noah impatiently urged them to get started. At Noah's prompting, the hunter attacked with a fist glowing in blue energy. The queen stopped the hit with ease, using only her hand to defend. She then immediately struck back quickly with her tail. Leon dodged her counter with a swift backflip, narrowly escaping harm. Landing on one hand, he rebounded and immediately sprang into another attack. He unleashed a powerful kick, which his opponent blocked expertly with her arm. Though the kick was blocked, its force pushed her away. Realizing the disadvantage, she needed distance. He spotted her intent as she stepped back, releasing magical energy and remaining on guard. Declaring that any tactic works as long as she wins, the woman readied a ranged assault. With this, Rossweisse released a surge of power, but the hunter slipped aside with ease. Noon feared her father would lose, but her sister assured her that both fought with clever tactics. Thinking further, the younger girl guessed their mom avoided close range and praised her sister, who revealed she'd learned this from their teacher. Shortly after, Rossweisse challenged her companion to see if he would dodge her next assault. Amid the swirling energy, he answered that he was not only quick, but also truly tough. Wearing a look of poise, Draveness gathered her might to unleash a fiercer blow. Suddenly, Leon noticed that two tremendous waves of magical force surrounded him. An enormous energy detonation erupted right where he just stood moments before. Gradually, haze began to lift and reveal the aftermath scattered on the field. Leon suddenly strode from the dust shrouded in lightning, saying her move was far too sluggish. Rossweisse gasped to see Leon harness lightning to empower himself, and Leon declared, "No one will rob me of my well-deserved month off." Endy darted forward at full force and struck at the shield formed by her magic. Assessing the fight, she realized it must end soon, for his moves were too dangerous. The hunter spotted a weak point in her readiness and grinned, certain he'd succeed. He dashed in, sweeping her legs to knock her off balance, and Rosa drifted midair, shocked by the ploy. A bit later, Leon raised his fist in the air, cheering over his hard-won victory. Yet as he prepared his finishing blow, he noticed his partner tumbling behind him. In one swift move, Leon seized her arm, steadied her descent, and gently gently drew her near. Thus, Leon held Rosa safely in his embrace, drawing their spirited battle to a close. While gazing at each other in bashful silence, she whispered his name, then he suddenly panicked when warmth of a dragon's flame flared within his chest. He shrieked in distress, exclaiming to all around that something inside was burning him badly. Peering down in perplexity, he failed to notice what happened as Rossweisse gently scolded him for losing focus, and the flame faded. Short time later, their daughters hurried over and Mun curiously asked who prevailed in battle. Leon sighed, confessed he'd lost by letting his focus waver at a crucial moment. His wife praised his strength fighting without gear. He countered he'd surely triumph at full strength. With a triumphant grin, she reminded him not to forget their bet after admitting defeat. Remembering the bet, he fell to the ground in despair, realizing his mistake, but Rossweisse assured the girls he was just exhausted, not dead. That night, inside the children's sanctuary room, Leon said goodbye, asked Noah to watch Mune, and gently urged the youngest to behave. His voice thick with emotion, he confessed his worries about leaving his daughters alone. Noah asked why her father was being dramatic, reminding him he was just spending a night with Mom. He replied in panic, saying a night of his wife's teasing felt worse than an execution. Cheerfully, Moon declared that Mom was going to eat Dad, explaining she had read about females consuming males. Leon grew anxious over her delight in such a thought, but then Ross came and scolded him for sharing such tales. Ross soon tucked the children in and said she'd only discuss interesting things with their father. While the daughters wondered about those interesting things, the adults offered vague, opposing replies. Fed up, Ross pulled him away, announcing it was enough, though Leon pleaded for a last word. As he was taken away, Leon declared eternal love for his daughters, while Noah remarked adults were childish. In the Queen of Silver Dragon's chamber, wine and glasses awaited. She offered him some, but he declined. After his refusal, she grew silent, then reminded him he'd promised her a favor since he lost their bet. Leon declined, saying he wished to stay clear-headed to avoid her persuasive ways. Unexpectedly, Rossweisse confessed she'd actually hoped for his victory in the duel. Puzzled, he asked why she preferred him to win. She explained that had he won, he'd get a month to recover and might even become more intriguing. Suspicious, Leon asked why she didn't just forfeit, but she approached, claiming she'd thought of a fun game. He delicately tilted her wine glass. Smiling, she let wine spill down her form, confessing she adored his look of surrender. Stunned and flustered, he demanded to know her intentions. With enticing authority, Rossweisse commanded him to drink it all, and he admired the alluring sight and aroma. To him, the moment was overwhelming and simply irresistible. Guided by impulse, Leon moved in close, sipping wine straight from her body. Rossweisse gasped, startled by the act, then blushed and asked if he enjoyed it in that way. He grinned and said it was obviously not enough for her satisfaction. Ross ordered him to part his lips. He bit her lip hard enough to draw blood. Leaning over, she let blood drip into his mouth, startling the hunter when he tasted blood. Disturbed, he pushed her off and nervously questioned what she was doing. Leon, unsettled, accused her of invoking a forbidden curse on him. He confirmed it was the blood curse he already knew. Suddenly, his eyes blazed bright red. When he demanded to know why, Ross explained she was still affected by his previous magic. Leon asked if she knew the risks of this spell, but she assured him she had reshaped it to keep just its charm. Gripped by magic, he claimed his body burned and his thoughts faded away. She touched his chest, confessing she had always made him linger near her, without his consent. Ross whispered she desired him to finally obey. Though trembling, he let out a strained laugh. Ross playful teased, questioning if the steadfast dragon hunter had lost self-control. She displayed a magical recorder from the Sky City. Pressured, he confessed his desire to kiss her. He was motionless, only managing a single word. Smiling, she urged him to speak his mind louder. He blurted out his wish to kiss her, but quickly denied having meant it. Holding his face, Rossweisse remarked on his surrender, forsaking pride just for a kiss. Then she told him she would not grant his wish. Hearing her refusal, he stayed silent but abruptly lunged at her and pinned her, saying her name. He held her down and panted. She calmly observed impatience did not suit him. Gripping her hand, he admitted his need to embrace and kiss her. Finally, he confessed he wanted to be close with her. Rossweisse realized this was the blood curse's effect. She smiles and remarks the day truly broke him, so after much pleading she reluctantly complies. Next, she calls over a small pup and asks for his true nature to emerge once things are done. Immediately after, the view widens, showing the majestic grand castle that shelters them. Shortly after, only the strands of the girl's hair remain visible upon the pillow. Suddenly, the boy awakens to find himself beside her on the shared bed. Touching his brow, he mourns falling again into her trap before the night ends. He blames the blood curse for making him forsake his hunter pride and beg, clenching his jaw at the relentless humiliation. During this, he observes that she, the source of his grief, rests content after her amusement. So he touches her face, marveling at how wholly vulnerable she seems while sleeping. In a moment, he's startled to realize his own out-of-character actions. He instantly wonders why he touched her face and what urge made him do so unconsciously. He rationalizes by telling himself he simply meant to wake her, and nothing more should be read. Yet her unresponsiveness unnerves him, leading him to wonder whether she's simply pretending. With that, he commands her rather sternly to give up her act. He asks her why, usually so dutiful, doesn't rise this morning like she always does. After standing, he considers if perhaps the blood curse is why she remains still. So, reasoning she carries a dragon queen's strength, he believes Rossweisse will stay unconscious for a week. He quietly observes her sleeping form, then declares to himself this is the ideal opportunity to escape. Opening the drawer, he feels sure that with the gold and ebony war chariot, fleeing is within reach. Clothed and ready, he mixes potions for speed, convinced she'll awaken far too late to stop him. He erupts in a triumphant laugh, certain of his soon-to-come freedom. But the laugh ceases abruptly as he hunches forward in sudden soberness. Gripping a flask, he recalls it's been 2 years since departing the Imperial lands. Deciding to act prudently, he knows returning now would be foolish with so many secrets left unsolved. Finally, he recalls asking Rossweisse to seek his mentor, realizing there's yet a matter much greater at hand. In his recollection, Mune declares she'll catch the butterfly as No warns her not to fall. Thinking back, he says there's no way he can abandon the two of them now. Arms folded, he realizes that he must stay a while longer in the Silver Dragon's Keep. He studies the sleeping girl, pondering payback for what occurred the previous night. He teases her gently, asking with a note of music if she doesn't agree with his plan. In the meantime, Ross remains ensconced in deep and peaceful slumber. Next to the bed, Mune wonders aloud if Mommy is fine since she's been sleeping so long. Just then, Noah looks over and asks what he and she were up to throughout the night. The boy, smiling, spins a story about chatting on the balcony until she caught a cold. He faces the maid to ask if the girl's ailment truly isn't something to be worried about. Anna reassures him, saying the doctor checked her, and aside from her frailty, all is well. Anna promises to handle domestic matters while he agrees, and by the bed, Mune vows to behave and asks her mother to recover swiftly. Watching closely, he observes Rossweisse perspiring heavily, making a note to clean her up soon. Noah, wary, asks if he isn't planning to use the scenario for something less than proper. He instantly dismisses her idea, telling her she's reading into it and he wants to look after Rossweisse. Noah calls Mune away, saying they'll visit tomorrow, and at the door Mune softly wishes a good night with an affectionate reply from him. Left alone with the sleeper, he ponders quietly about his next move. He soon chooses to leave briefly in search of a drink of water. Upon his return, he carefully wrings out a cloth above the basin. As he gently cleans her, the boy murmurs it's to ward off a cold, hoping for no misunderstanding. He realizes how frail she seems, unable to reveal her usual proud tale, and considers whether to change her clothes too. He opens the wardrobe, finds many choices, and resolves to pick the attire he favors. He begins selecting an outfit with open shoulders, a modest neckline, and stockings to match. He locates suitable garments but debates how to manage her ears, contemplating tying her hair for a solution. Smiling with contentment, he states softly that preparations are complete. The boy unveils his creation, Rosswater as a bunny girl, flattered by how stunning she looks. Suddenly, a radiant glow appears right where the mark rests on his chest. Clutching his shirt, he ponders why the dragon mark would choose to shine at this moment. He recalls how it was explained that the mark glows in response to mutual longing. Flustered, he insists he's not thinking such things, blaming the bunny outfit for the turn of events. Hoping to regain focus, he recites the Dragon Hunter's code repeatedly, relieved but disappointed that dressing Rossweisse like this won't create a lasting memory. While she sleeps in her costume, he suddenly recalls the presence of a camera nearby. Hastily, he starts searching the room, eager to get his hands on it. Before long, he stumbles upon the elusive camera he sought. He snaps several photos and cheers, proud that she is now in the unfamiliar position. He lightly adjusts her face for the perfect shot, vowing the photos shall be safely guarded. Rosie shifts and murmurs in sleep, causing panic as he wonders if she woke up too soon. He leans closer for a better look, then breathes a sigh of relief finding her still asleep. Gazing outside, he chooses to put her back in pajamas and delay his small revenge. Ewan hurries down the hall in search of her sister, as Noel asks her to explain what's going on. Miam confesses her Rubik's Cube broke, and when seeking Dad's help she couldn't find him. Noel suspects their father left while Mother was out cold but comforts Miam, promising to look together so there's nothing to fear. Together, they dash through the castle calling out to unravel their father's whereabouts. Moon checks an empty chamber, calling for their father with a hopeful, searching tone. Searching their mother's room, the girl says he doesn't seem to be inside at all. They try another room but again, Moon points out his absence is clear. Moon even looks in a barrel, calling out, as Noah asks how he'd fit in such a spot. Her sister then believes he's lost, and Noah claims good people often leave, as in the past. Confused, Noon questions about last time and Noah explains if she's right, he has escaped for good just as expected. The girl ponders within that she always felt their family existed in peaceful harmony. Yet in reality, deception filled every corner of those words. She knows her father always slept, and her mother only called him their ancestor through the years. The memory haunts her. He awoke and tried escaping but they forced him back and she felt his presence never returned freely. She vividly recalls how, afterward, he sought her out, aiming to teach her like a dutiful father. Still, doubt fills her mind. Did he act out of affection affection or to distract them and sees a chance to flee. She ponders whenever affection hides secrets, she would rather decline it than be a mere instrument. She accepts he was never meant to stay and realizes he'll vanish from their lives before long. Sob-filled, Mun mourns for their mother's silence and father's distant heart, seeking answers from her elder sister. Sweetly, Noah holds her little sibling's face and reassures her that she will always look after her. Hearing that, Mun embraces her sister, overcome by tears that spill uncontrollably. Holding the child, Noah resolutely announces they'll give a proper goodbye to that man. Elsewhere, behind the Silver Dragon's refuge holding a map, he admires the scenery and acknowledges the maid's honesty. The story flashes back, showing Leon inquiring from Anna where her majesty most often journeyed. In that memory, however, he declines a guide from the maid, simply requesting marked locations on his map. With restrictions lifted, he looks forward to wandering freely and secretly planning a surprise for Rossweisse. Then he reveals the truth. The search for her spot serves to hide a plan for revenge, and the true intention is to disgrace her in her cherished haven while she's still fragile from sleep. He inspects a grand tree nearby and remarks on its impressive thickness. In his mind's eye, everything aligns just so, needing only soft flower petals scattered to perfect his spot. He sees that from this vantage, the sanctuary lies nestled in the mountain, such a pleasing sight. Scanning the map, he claims that forest as his own and concludes, with task set, it is up to the woman to wake. He grins slyly and proclaims that it's her turn to accept defeat. Now within the sanctuary's yard, he hears weeping by the fire's glow. He approaches the maids, questions them, and seeks reason for all the weeping around the flames. A maid explains they've been instructed to arrange a funeral and tend to the fire at their highness's request. Amid portraits and tears, Mun begs for return with a meal while Noah implores her to face the truth of his departure. Observing the lively scene, the boy imagines a family game and decides to gently take part. He walks over and greets, "Excuse me," which catches the maids off guard as they realize he's the prince. He asks who the girls are honoring and offers to play, then sees the portrait and is surprised to recognize himself. Grinning, he remarks about looking rather dashing in the picture. Then the truth sinks in, leaving him shouting in panic, confused over what's unfolding. Startled, Mun points and exclaims that their father has appeared. Leon, in a laid-back voice, tells his daughters that a funeral was unnecessary for just one day's absence. Eyes brimming, the youngest girl can only call his name. She dashes into his arms, exclaiming his return, then confides in his embrace she feared abandonment. Gently stroking her head, he wonders why she'd think that when he cherishes them both. Noah explains they looked everywhere, assuming he had left, and suddenly sees her earlier accusation was unfair. He lifts Mun up, tells everyone the ordeal is over, and invites them to disperse. In his gentle grasp, the small girl asks if she's now allowed a taste of her offerings. The moment she's set down, she scampers eagerly to the table while he muses she inherited his lively spirit. Shortly, Noah approaches, requesting that next time he warn them before venturing out alone. She mentions Mun's deep concern. He apologizes for it and notes Noah too is worried, though shy to show it. At last, Noah concedes she was at fault for doubting him. He finds her sincerity wholly unexpected. Now Leon understands the farewell was just a mistake, revealed thanks to her honesty. He admits that all of this arose because he made her feel unsure. He realizes no indeed needs love but won't request it or trust promises. Thus, as a father, he knows he must prove his care through small deeds, comforts her, and vows they will always share family dinners. The following morning in the queen's chamber, Rossweisse stirs and her eyes gradually flutter open. Witnessing this, Mun cheers instantly, delighted that her mother is awake. She eagerly tells her mother how long she slept and shares her anxious longing. Rossweisse smiles and asks her daughter's pardon for worrying her, then quietly notices her energy is gone and her magic has faded. She realizes her dragon queen form weakened after saving him from the curse's effect. Beside the bed, Mun remarks that, knowing his character, he's likely already gotten away. Rossweisse Music wonders how long she was out and is told by the small one it was 2 whole days. Waiting to catch him, Ross tells Mun there's still time and they should have fished for dinner. Suddenly, Leon strides in with a massive fish, exclaiming he caught it. With glee, his daughter marvels at how amazing he is. Then the boy sees the queen awake and, surprised, hears her ask why he's there. He says she's finally woken up. He grins, sharing that he went for air and caught a fish for his beloved wife. When she playfully asks who that deer might be, Mun calls her father shameless. Liam directs his daughter to take the fish to the kitchen. The little one cheers and eagerly agrees to handle the task herself. As Mun leaves, he urges her to have dinner first since he and Mom need to talk alone. Left with him, Rose confides she assumed he'd flee with the girls while she was unconscious. Removing his gloves, he asks how he could since so much remains unresolved between them. She asks puzzled, wanting to know what kind of unresolved issues he means. He reminds her of her actions when he awoke a month ago and Rossweisse, alarmed, pleads he'll not do the same. With a triumphant grin, he confirms her fears are indeed correct. Rossweisse cautions him not to take her frailty as an excuse for boldness or foolish acts. Leon immediately questions what she means by calling herself weak. He explains he was weakened too when she marked him with the dragon's seal by force. She cautions that when her energy returns, he'll have to answer for this. He replies he has no regrets calling her his dear wife and, as he carries her, calls it his best choice ever. Returned to be a captive Ka, he walks through flowering mountains while she demands release. Though she protests, he warns she might fall if she resists, and she claims he'd fly with one punch at her full strength. Leon then sets her gently down under a grand cherry tree in bloom. Once seated, she asks why he's brought her there. He answers he found out it's one of her favorite places with more in store that night. Hearing this, she wonders aloud what first destination means and if he's taking her elsewhere too. At last, the lad gestures to the distant shrine, saying you'll find the clearest view there. Rossweisse wonders aloud if his goal is to settle scores for troubles faced at home. He answers by suggesting perhaps only dragons can repay wrongs, while his glowing chest mark speaks. Liam claims that despite his humanity, his resolve is unbroken, holding her steady and guiding her gaze forward. He gestures at the distant palace, calling it the heart of her confidence and true nobility. As he urges her on, he queries how it feels to succumb to a dragon slayer in exile. Moving in, he remarks that she once made him endure exactly this same situation. Within herself, Ross admits her desire to resist, but her will is caught up in longing. Her mind resolved, she swiftly wraps her tail around him, resolved now despite herself. To his surprise, he marvels that she still draws the strength to wield her tail now. He then declares this night is young, and a jubilee of revenge dawns beneath her crown. With morning in the Dragon Queen's chamber, he wakes beside her, satisfied to have returned at last. He reflects on how exhausting it was to keep her chasing endlessly across the night's hours. Yet in her tranquil sleep, he feels she's content, sure that his revenge found its purpose. She lies sleeping quietly beside him, untouched by the dawn's arrival. He decides it's best to quietly return to his own room before morning routines begin. As he rises, he finds her hand clutching his as she softly whispers in slumber. Still half asleep, she mutters a complaint that the chill has crept in. Lamb thinks seeking warmth is pure instinct, but won't allow himself to be deceived anymore. Even so, his hand stays on hers, while Moon wonders aloud if her mother still sleeps on. Outside the window, birds bask contentedly in the early sunlight. Remembering her lesson, the girl recalls to apply ointment for stings or insect mischief. Quickly, she finds the medicine, dashes to her mother, and calls her awake since the sun already glows. Rossweisse, barely conscious, suggests she play with Daddy. Mun nudges him, insisting the sun is up. Leon only mutters that it's cozy and begs to enjoy sleep just a bit longer. Annoyed, the girl protests, asking who will play with her while they stay nestled together. In response, he kisses his wife's forehead gently as they embrace. Moon watches and remarks it's her first time seeing them act so tenderly with one another. Immediately after, she questions why their bodies are dotted with so many tiny red spots. Suddenly, she decides those little red dots must have come from insect bites. Calmly, she reassures them not to worry, as her sister isn't present now. She promises she'll look after everything herself from now on. Beginning the ointment, she notes that Daddy gets extra. Soon Ross stirs, urging her husband to awaken. When he finally wakes, he wonders aloud why his face feels unusually damp. He discovers they've both been slathered with green ointment and laughs, asking about her appearance too. Yoon proudly shares she applied medicine where the bugs had left tiny red spots. While Rossweisse questions those spots, Leon explains some truths are for kids as Moon seeks affirmation that she's heroic. The boy praises her while the girl swears the next time she'll treat them, prompting the adults to decide they must keep their door shut. Later on, Leon reappears bearing a bowl filled with freshly made food. He offers his wife a spoonful. Confused, she asks what this gesture means. He urges her to eat, reminding her that even dragons need food after many days without it. Nevertheless, Rossweisse insists she's quite capable and prefers to eat on her own. Tasting it, she admits it's good as he claims lovingly, "Of course, I made the fried rice myself." Next, she questions why he eats too, and he cheerily says he's simply doing his part. Craving more, she demands an extra spoonful, soon leaving the serving bowl empty. Leon reminds her he's looked after her by bathing, cooking, and feeding throughout those days. Ross asks if he's recalling the baths or the bed drama, conceding perhaps all of it was a bit much. Liam claims it was never torment, only the acts of a devoted heart. Bidding him farewell, Ross cautions that every foolish act will only give her new ways to avenge herself someday. Left alone, she calls him a troublesome dragon hunter and admits he truly excels at annoying her. He slams her fist into the headboard with force. The force of her blow cracks the wooden headboard right away. She gazes at the splintered wood in shock, realizing at last her strength has returned. In the meantime, Leon washes dishes quietly in the kitchen. He wishes the dragonist's recovery would be slow, unaware how grave things just became. At the palace, Anna expressed regret to Her Majesty, handing her medicine said to help restore vitality. Yet the woman declined it, claiming her health had already returned with no need for medicine. The servant spotted the cracked headboard, so Rossweisse explained she'd been a little too strong and needed repairs. As the maid left, the queen, hiding behind a book, quietly asked her to keep recovery a secret for a while. Anna's eyes widened, but then she smiled, assuring the queen her request made perfect sense. The dragoness reflected that her husband's peaceful days were swiftly nearing their end. 2 days later, Mune rushed to her father, eager to learn how to make herself shine. Liam asked if she meant the magic key she saw her mother use while they were practicing. He wanted to know what motivated her sudden interest in learning magic. His daughter explained her desire to keep up with her older sister, who'd learned new things at school. Her father agreed, sensing she sought something special too, which Moon confirmed with excitement. He realized their rivalry was a blessing, as the younger sibling looked up to her sister and pushed herself. Because of that, her father delightedly started lessons on the fundamentals of channeling energy. Soon after, his youngest put her all into training, quickly earning his quiet admiration. Within hours, Moon could easily channel mana and looked close to discovering her powers. Impressed by her growth, he wondered if she was destined for greatness, until she declared herself tired and hungry. Leia concluded that hurrying through magic lessons wasn't necessary. He suggested they end practice and have a meal, as Moon cheered for her wonderful father. Back in her chamber, Anna complied with the request, and Rossweisse told her to set it aside. As Leon entered, his wife dismissed Anna, believing recovery needed days, yet he felt free to tease a bit longer. With that, he offered her a massage in case she still felt sore, but the warrior scoffed, asking why he was so weak and unable to endure more than 2 days. Startled, he had her repeat herself, calling her mommy dragon and confessing he thought she needed rest, but apparently he was mistaken. Grasping her chin, Leon guessed that if her words were strong, her body likely matched. Leon removed his shirt and warned her that she would soon regret her bold words. With a playful smile, she said she never feels regret. Suddenly, Rossweisse's tail looped around his waist, taking him off guard. Swiftly, her tail tossed him onto the bed with impressive force. She pinned him down, leaving her husband shocked at her amazing strength. Realizing this, he finally asked her if she had already recovered completely. Rossweisse hushed him, explaining that their captive must remain quiet while near the bed, a tray of restraints already waited. He was shocked and wondered when she had managed to prepare all those items. With his wrists and ankles tied, he wondered if he'd unwittingly entered the lion's den. With an intent gaze, the dragonist warned him not to put up any resistance. Leon questioned if she intended to extract answers from him through torture. Tied to the bed, Leon told her he'd been specially trained to resist, but Rossweisse just asked him if he was certain. Suddenly, the magic crystal played a memory where he professed his wish to kiss her. Realizing what it was, he pleaded for her to relinquish it while she teased, asking who would beg so eagerly for her. The recording played, with Leon's voice nervously repeating her name aloud. Frantic, he denied its authenticity, insisting it wasn't him and it was just someone similar. Rossweisse asked whether he wanted a closer look, as the image showed the boy saying he wanted to hold her, kiss her, and be united as one. At that, the captive admitted defeat, saying further demonstration was useless because he remembered it all. The dragoness said it was fortunate that the memory came back. She picked up a whip and demanded that he repeat several times what he had stated in the memory. Again, she teased, offering to summarize his words like a teacher if he couldn't recall them himself. The scene faded, showing only the silhouettes of 2 people hidden behind a slender divider. During the quiet night, soft candlelight illuminated the room with a gentle glow. Cyrillic letter 456 moments later, Leon appeared lying on the bed, completely exhausted. As he rested, Rossweisse received a letter delivered by a messenger dragon. Soon, her husband asked if the letter was from the academy and why a messenger had been sent so late. She informed him that the academy had requested their presence the following day. She then revealed that Noah had gotten into a fight with someone, leaving him completely stunned by the news. Meanwhile, in Vice Principal Wilson's office, Noah waited silently. Across from her, 3 horned boys appeared injured and bandaged. The vice principal then explained that he had called them in to discuss the incident involving the girl's fight with her classmates. At that, Rossweisse began questioning him about what exactly he meant. She also wanted to know if those 3 young dragons had gangs up to bully her daughter. Aline looked over Noah with concern. The girl stated that she wasn't hurt and was doing fine. The educator then clarified the situation, revealing that in truth, it was their daughter who had beaten up the 3 boys. Upon hearing the truth, Rossweisse simply asked if that was all. After the revelation, father and daughter sat silently side by side. Soon after, Leon praised Noah for the good job, confirming that she was indeed his daughter. Finally, the vice principal explained that the incident, though small, highlighted the tensions between dragons born from cocoons and those from wombs. He went on to say that dragons reproduce in both ways, and while there's no difference in adulthood, their abilities vary in youth. The principal continued explaining that cocoon-born dragons inherit strength from their mothers, while womb-born dragons have to learn it, making the former stronger at the same age. He concluded that even though she was womb-born, the girl had faced 3 older cocoon opponents, making her future look very promising. Suddenly, the father of one of the boys arrived and offered to pay for the medical expenses, minimizing the situation. However, as soon as he saw his son's condition, a man questioned him about how he ended up like that. At that, the boy ran crying into his father's arms. While Rossweisse, who whispered that the boy belonged to the family of the Crimson Dragon King, Leon quietly responded music that he had killed so many dragons from that clan that they could circle the academy twice. The nobleman then turned to the queen and asked how she could allow her daughter to intimidate other dragons. Liam quickly stepped in, provoking him by saying that since they weren't strong, they sent their little kids to bother his. At that, the student's father demanded an apology, but Liam challenged him, stating that his fists reaching for a fight. In response, the vice principal slammed his hand on the desk and ordered everyone to be quiet. He then asked the parents to calm down and listen to the full story. He reported that in the cafeteria, student Laurel and his friends had gotten into an argument with Noel after her tray stained his clothes. Continuing, he explained that later when returning to the dormitories, the 3 boys cornered the girl in a courtyard, and a fight broke out. After finishing his explanation, the educator asked if the boys had anything to say, but they silently shook their heads. Noah lifted her hand then, telling the principal she wished to make an announcement. Vice Principal Wilson turned and asked Noah if she wanted to share something with the group. Noah explained that Laurel provoked her in the cafeteria and later attacked her outside, but she only protected herself. She fixed her gaze on the boy, urging him to confirm her words, and as Laurel nodded, his father questioned his fear of her. Then Leon intervened, telling his daughter he believed she'd made an error, while she endured his quiet gaze, waiting for him to continue. He told her to target her rival's knee next time, prompting Noah to inquire as to why she should do that. He said a crimson dragon wounded at the knee in battle is eventually defeated, and she remembered it. Angry, Laurel's father accused Leon of showing his daughter how to scare his son and demanded her expulsion for violence. The vice principal calmly replied that only the academy held the right to expel any student. Wilson revealed that many students mentioned Laurel's troubling others and confirmed he began the trouble with Noah. The boy's father cried out, challenging whether the academy blamed his son and planned to ignore the girl's actions. Liam questioned why he was complaining given even a girl not yet 2 beat up his son. Laurel quickly corrected that he was almost 8, and the man retorted that he'd rather vanish than face such disgrace. Laurel's father shot back, maintaining that if someone could not show his own tail, he shouldn't judge his son. He then insulted Rossweisse and Noah, saying their family was worthless, but Liam firmly seized his hand, stating he couldn't abide insults toward his wife and daughter. Seeing this, Ross remarked that her husband always fiercely guarded his loved ones. The nobleman raged, wanting to know how Leon dared touch him, and declared himself a duke of the Crimson Dragon clan. Leon answered his anger only by meeting his eyes with a look of playful defiance. In that tense moment, Rossweisse addressed Leon respectfully as Father Sir. She reminded everyone this was a student issue and that rankings and bloodlines would only escalate things. Rossweisse assured the vice principal she trusted the academy and would accept their final judgment fully. The vice principal warned the man that creating drama would serve only to worsen the problem. Wilson added that the boy might risk losing his place at the academy altogether. At this, Laurel tugged his father's sleeve and pleaded to drop it, wishing to stay at school, so his father calmed, vowing to accept the school's decision. Finally, he told them he would leave but not forget, as the vice principal summarized that Laurel started the conflict and Noah defended herself a bit too fiercely. Thus, he decided the girl would get a teacher's warning, while Laurel's group must write self-critiques and handle classroom cleaning duties. With matters settled, Noah departed for class as her mother granted her permission to go. As she left, Leon yelled she should strike at their knees if anyone harassed her again. Suddenly, the vice principal appeared, startling Leon, who then asked if Wilson wanted something. Wilson admitted he'd always wondered about Leon, for he'd never revealed his tale. The inquiry left Leon momentarily at a loss for words. Wilson asked politely about his dragon clan, but Rossweisse answered for him, calling him a common dragon, and Leon agreed. Accepting this, the vice principal noted it was remarkable such talent came from their daughter. He added that the academy wanted children like her, and even suggested they have more. He continued, confident that Noah would someday help dragons win over more hunters, earning Leon's thanks. Elsewhere, Laurel's father saw the trio conversing, then ordered his entourage to depart. Leon and Rossweisse strolled serenely from the academy's gates. As they stepped out, Laurel's father blocked their path and addressed the Silver Dragon Queen. Rossweisse coolly gazed at him, asking if he had further words to speak. He insisted their agreement was only to keep the academy content, not a sincere arrangement. Now outdoors, he signaled they would handle issues in the manner of dragons. Pointing at Leon, the nobleman called for a duel, knowing decline could brand the silver dragons as weak. Their adversary jeered about retreat, Quietly, Rossweisse asked if her husband would truly accept. Leon answered that since the challenge was offered, he gladly accepted it. His wife agreed with his choice, but gently pleaded with him not to kill the man. Meanwhile, other students hurried to the gate. Curious chatter abounded about the coming duel. Hearing whispers of a fight, Noah guessed it involved her parents, while on a balcony students wondered who would duel. Their challenger considered Leon feeble, a braggart and coward for never revealing his tale. He proclaimed that he'd defeat the girl's father to redeem his son's lost honor. He said that if Leon survived 3 rounds he'd concede defeat, but Leon brusquely urged him to get on with it. He goaded him to begin, igniting the other's temper with sharp provocation. The nobleman cried that enough was enough and rushed Leon, fist blazing with fire. Blocking skillfully, Liam mused that Leon felt far feebler than the dragons once fought. A grin appeared on the fighter's face knowing more rounds remained, and when Leon retreated he was accused of running away. Mocking him with ridicule, he asked if Leon was a turtle coward as he smashed the earth. Leon hopped high and soared to evade the tremor. The noble wasted no time, hurling flames his way, but Leon coolly watched the oncoming fire. Leon deftly dodged the flames, appearing at his rival's side, and declared it was his turn now. With a swift kick to the knee, he forced the noble to yell out in agony from the crushing hit. Awestruck and kneeling, the noble gaped at his opponent with wide eyes. Giving him no respite, Leon swung his ready fist, striking his rival's face so hard he flew backward. Liam calmly dusted his hands, remarking that magic wasn't even necessary for opposition like that. Alarmed, the Duke's followers cried his name, and Liam coolly inquired if they wished to challenge him too. The retainers instantly refused, and insisted they wanted nothing to do with another fight. Liam then ordered them to escort the Duke away, and demand he leave his daughter in peace. Content, he turned and told them it was time for their exit. Yet to his surprise, he saw Noah standing nearby and asked her when she had come. She answered that she merely happened by and was drawn in by the noise. Noah then presented a box to both parents, saying it was a gift especially for them. Upon lifting the lid, Ross discovered a heart-shaped cookie inside the package. Noah confessed they were from her cooking class. She placed second. They might lack flavor but hoped they were willing to taste. Ross insisted that the cookies tasted wonderful and asked Leon to try a bite as well. Leon nodded, declaring that treats by their daughter were bound to shine and she'd win next time. Turning to him, Noah declared his recent feat amazing, and Leon was stunned by heartfelt praise. Her words left him radiant with delight and pride. He quickly regained his poise and assured her, boasting that her father was truly extraordinary. Ruffling Noah's hair, he cheerfully offered to teach her any fighting skill she wished. On hearing this, Rossett watched him seriously and in silence, showing no emotion. A while after, Leon sat serenely on the couch, quietly absorbed in a book. Rossett soon came over and asked if his hand was injured, taking him by surprise. Glancing at his hand, he said it was a minor wound that would soon heal by itself. Immediately, she prepared cotton and medicine, intending to bandage his hand with care. As she drew close, the hunter mused that battling dragons had left many scars, usually untreated. He then realized this was the first gentle care anyone had offered him for a wound. While she cared for him, her touch soft, Rossweisse gave thanks, though he replied that protecting her was only his duty, noticing her hand's warmth. After all, she was his wife in public, and he remained bound to that role. She soon added they were invited by her sister, and when he learned there might be items to sell, he agreed to go. They departed promptly, reaching the domain of red dragons, and as they arrived, he woke Mewam and announced their arrival. The elder sister soon arrived and greeted him in his dragon form, addressing him as Xiaolu. She praised her own draconic form, while Rosa, now human, was embraced and tickled by her sister's affection. The hostess introduced her husband, who enthusiastically greeted them, pleased to finally meet him awake. Then the hostess guessed the girls' names, hugging Mune, followed by Noah, and was delighted that the little one confirmed she was correct. She then asked for permission to hug Noah, and with great joy embraced both dragon girls at once. The hostess gratefully addressed Leon, saying she'd heard he often cared for the girls. Rossweisse retorted that she believed the girls liked her more, but he instantly denied it. While she challenged his denial, her husband yielded, as their sister remarked on their strong bond. The wife modestly agreed, then the sister invited all inside, saying the trip must have made them tired. Suddenly, Muse declared with glee her eagerness to see the surprise, leaving Rose startled. She then demanded to see the hidden photos, only for her sister to tease her for being so shy. So the hostess dashed away down the hall, laughing, with her sister hot on her heels for the pictures. Though Leon admitted he never expected this side of his wife, the girls begged to see too, so he teased the Valkyrie while showing them the lively photo from her student days. He revealed it was from her student speech, then asked when she grew so stern, yelping as the photo was snatched away. In a soft voice, the blonde warned him not to get arrogant or he could be next in line for her sister's pranks. Next, the aunt revealed she still had many more old pictures, cheerfully encouraging the girls to search on. When the baby photos appeared, one girl remarked on how tiny mom had been, as Mune wished to cuddle her. With Leon agreeing, he noted that their mom looked extremely slick, so Mun urged, "Let me see too." Soon after, their aunt explained it was taken the day Rossweisse became queen of the Silver Dragon. dragons. Impressed, Leon remarked on her beauty, but Mun pouted when they reached the end and saw no more photos left of their mom. Ross took the album, saying if they are finished, her sister should now store the photos somewhere safe. But her sister insisted they hadn't finished and asked the group what she held. Leon exclaimed he recognized the recording stone. Their aunt then asked the girls if they'd like to see videos of their mother, and both eagerly agreed. Ross pleaded with her sister not to show the video, reminding her gently that she was the youngest. Leon begged to see what's inside, concluding Rossweisse's refusal meant something embarrassing awaited. The blonde called out her sister's name, but the other smiled, deciding to grant Leon's wish for this visit and save the youngest's for later. Levin cheered at her choice, but Rosu warned that Leon's next visit might not be such fun for him. The recording stone began to project, and their aunt announced it as an especially precious video. Rossweisse instantly knew where the recorded scenes took place the moment the video appeared. She quickly tried to block Leon's view and cry out, but he insisted on watching regardless of her protests. In the footage, the sister asked young Rossweisse how she'd pick a husband, making her blush with embarrassment. The girl answered that her husband must have always earned better grades and taken first place. She husband must have all. Her daughter noted it matched what mom said about dad. The video then said he should be strong but never misuse his strength, letting Leon boast she meant him. Her sister remarked those three traits were rare since power leads many people astray over time. Young Rossweisse stated she wouldn't force marriage on herself if such a person didn't exist. The footage closed with her vow to wed only someone like that, moving Leon deeply with her promise. He understood she had always seen him as an ideal, though Rosa shrugged it off as childish, but he comforted her, assuring there was no need for awkwardness. Soon, her sister, curious, wanted to know who had first started pursuing the other. At once, both accused one another, loudly claiming the other had done all the chasing. She dared him, challenging him to repeat his words if he really had the courage to. When challenged, Leon instantly changed his account, admitting she chased first, yet later he ended up pursuing her instead. Watching this unfold, the hostess remarked they were perfectly compatible, which both of them denied at once. The older sister then offered to show off some love letters Rosa had received, so Rosa asked why they were kept. The Valkyrie, unable to stay calm, begged to burn every single letter without delay. Later, whispering quietly, Leon told her they must share a room. Inside, everything was unexpectedly draped in romantic decor. Startled by the decor, both asked what was happening, and as Rossweisse entered, she questioned her sister's intent. Her sister replied the guest room had been specially arranged for them to stay a few days. The Valkyrie immediately asked if another room was possible, but her sister insisted they needn't be shy. Besides, you two are married, she reminded them simply. Rosa realized she dropped her guard, and the hostess's plan was to lock them in together so they could, in her words, restore the family line. Immediately, Leon announced his wish to leave and tried to make his escape. His sister-in-law blocked his path from behind, pointedly asking where exactly he was going. Thinking fast, the boy tried to mention the children, but the hostess assured him the girls had a special room full of toys. Meanwhile, Muin and Noah had fun on their own with a puzzle, as the sister locked the couple inside and wished them a restful night. With the two alone and resigned, Liam saw they had little option but to spend the night, recognizing his sister-in-law's cleverness. Unfolding clothes, the Valkyrie remarked that her sister had always been cunning, and he'd grow to understand it more. Suddenly, slamming the closet, she startled Leon, and Ross interrupted to inform him he'd have to sleep in the tub since there was only one bed. Annoyed, Leon protested about the tub and noticed it was unusable, pointing out his sister-in-law's intent for them to share the bed. As he moved closer to check, something about the bed felt different. He quickly guessed it could be a waterbed. Without hesitation, he threw himself on the mattress, praising its softness while she watched him carefully. He insisted she shouldn't keep the bed to herself and proposed they sleep together. She doubted his sudden change and questioned his motives. Growing restless, the Valkyrie bluntly inquired if he cared to sleep or not. She hinted they could mess with things in the wardrobe, prompting him to nervously decline the idea. Choosing to shower first, she warned against peeking and told him to leave if he's truly uninterested, booting him out. Standing on the balcony, Leon mused he'd seen her enough times that she no longer captivated him. Suddenly aware of another's gaze, he discovered Rossweisse's sister quietly observing him. His sister-in-law asked why he stepped outside, and Leon explained his wife was bathing and he needed air. She came nearer with wine, asking him to join her, and Leon warmly accepted without hesitation. While filling the glasses, she revealed that this was the Valkyrie's preferred wine. He gave his thanks to her as he accepted the glass of wine. The boy observed that they seemed close and she agreed, saying they often drank and talked on the balcony. She told Leon she watched Rossweisse grow up, exchanged letters after her crowning, then learned of her marriage and pregnancy. The hostess said even post-wedding, her sister sounded unhappy and felt loneliness as her husband often slept, forcing her to face a tough twin pregnancy mostly alone. Leon then understood how hard it was for his partner to carry on alone, sharing her sorrows with only her sister. His hostess revealed she once believed her sister had married a neglectful and lazy dragon. Chuckling, he asked if he matched that image, edge, and she soon admitted time with him made her realize there might have been deeper reasons for it all. She finished by stating it was clear how deeply the queen, her sister, cared for him. Leon paused with his wine, considering what was said, and quietly questioned if Rossweisse truly felt for him so deeply. Nevertheless, he brushed off the thought, certain someone like her could never feel that for him. Joking, his sister-in-law teased him for self-pity, but Leon replied she misunderstood her sister entirely. Nevertheless, he confessed they must appear united when together, then proclaimed to the hostess that their love was genuine. She responded, noting she could tell by their interactions that their connection was real. She commented that Rossweisse struggles with feelings, hinting Leon was the first person she treated so warmly. Next, she reminded Leon of his duty as a man, making him joke that refusing might cost him his life. Leon assured her that despite missing his wife's first pregnancy, he would stand by her if there was ever a second. He vowed to protect his partner and daughters, declaring his own life would be their shield. His sister-in-law simply hopes he keeps the promise, urges him to stop bragging, and suggests he return before his wife tires of waiting. As Leon gets ready to leave, she halts him to mention one last thought. Leon turns back in curiosity, and she tells him not to hold back for the room is well insulated. Her words about perfect isolation render him speechless, so he just shuts his eyes in bafflement. With the nighttime castle aglow, Leon offers his silent thanks for every kindness. He returns quietly, only to see Rossweisse already sleeping peacefully in bed. Drawing nearer, he cannot help but wonder if she is truly asleep so early. His worries ease when he decides the night holds no troubles, admiring her serene beauty. Valkyrie stays there, immersed in her tranquil, undisturbed rest. Something unusual in the bed instantly attracts his attention. Perplexed, he notes the mysterious glow on her chest, shining beneath the covers. He immediately questions if the dragon's seal awoke yet. With his own seal unchanged, he tries to imagine why. With no answers at hand, he cautiously reaches out to examine the light beneath the blanket. To his astonishment, Rossweisse opens her eyes and softly says hello. Startled, Leon protests, asking why she startled him with a hidden lamp under the quilt. She shares she found the lamp among toys and simply wanted to playfully tease him. She playfully hints that judging by his reaction, he was obviously not truly disappointed. He promptly disagrees with her words and firmly denies everything. He pulls up his own covers, announces he's going to sleep, and asks her not to speak. Rosa warns he may regret this attitude if he tries anything while she sleeps. Abruptly, a spider drops before her, leaving her puzzled about its true nature. Realizing, she shrieks in fear. Her scream startles Leon, who jumps up and asks what's wrong. Rossweisse leaps fearfully into his arms. Still holding him tightly, she exclaims there's a spider in the room. Leon recalls a photo album showing her childhood tears caused by a spider and wonders if it's from those old fears. He notes even the silver dragon queen harbors fears, claiming there's no choice as he pursues it while the Valkyrie urges haste. Drawing closer, the young man lifts the spider into his palm. As he holds it, he senses the spider is not what it first appeared to be. When Leon unveils the spider as a toy and comforts her, Rossweisse still insists he dispose of it, insisting she wants it gone. Recognizing her unease, he gently reassures her, swiftly promising to discard the toy spider. Without delay, he lets the spider fly and it sails out the window. He tells his companion the bother has passed and wonders if she can finally find rest. A stray thought arises, perhaps the spider too played its part in his sister-in-law's designs. He decides its purpose was to coax Rossweisse to unveil her softer, fragile nature. Music at ease now, the girl quietly asks to rest in the bed as he stays outside, and Leo amiably grants her wish. Before long they share a bed, each lingering on their own side. Eventually, turning softly, he wonders if holding hands will help ease her fears. The Valkyrie's quiet gaze rests on him, though she gives no answer right away. Then she relents, murmuring that she'll accept since he insists, her hand slipping into his below the covers. He tenderly asks if linking just their pinkies would bring her comfort. She asks him what ought to happen and he calls her silly, then demonstrates holding hands, twining their fingers together. Together they remain silent, gazing into one another's eyes as their hands stay entwined. She muses aloud on how he can hold her hand so easily and wonders if she's alone in such unease. She quickly reminds herself that, as the Dragon Queen, there's no shame in clasping a hand like this. He asks why her hand is so cold, but upon seeing her sweating, Rossweisse confesses it's his hand, a sign of his nerves. When she feels his hand rough with scars and calloused from a sword, it is awkward but full of gentle warmth. She senses that where their fingers meet, a silent spark begins to dance across her skin. Struck by the touch alone, she falls into thoughtful silence, feeling only what passes between their hands. As the hours go on, Leon teases her about what sways her choice in partners, but she insists she'd joke and now has no requirements, so they rest calmly together. Tossing restlessly, he resigns himself to sleeplessness, glancing over to see if Rossweisse has drifted off. He recalls his tingling tangling fingers from holding still, so he subtly shifts their position. While feigning sleep, Rossweisse wonders why his gentle handhold has become a curious poke. He decides if the prisoner dares to touch, so shall she, sensing the boldness between them. Suddenly, Leon flinches as her unexpected touch startles and delights him. Caught off guard, he questions why the Valkyrie smooths his hand with such quiet affection. He notices her body's warmth, and their touch brings a pleasing shiver through him. Newfound longing awakens inside, yearning overpowering him quickly. Once the desire mirrors in both, each senses the other's deep and restless wanting. Their shared thought intensifies, both secretly wishing for more than just a gentle touch. Gradually, their faces move closer together, and the silence thickens between gazes. Liam bravely leans over her, drawing the blanket up with a kiss as shelter. Determined to let go just this night, he gently settles above Rossweisse, prepared for more. She quietly murmurs his name close to his ear, gentle as a wish. Leon answers softly with a gentle sound, closing the distance towards her. Even expecting what comes, he notes with surprise that his dragon mark remains calm. Soon he learns the mark only stirs desire unless the bond is genuine, then it lies still. Suddenly, their moment stops when a toy spider drops, its shriek echoing in the house. He soothes her, stating she need not worry as he has already caught the intruding spider. Rossweisse's sister outside realizes they've encountered the surprise she had prepared. Inside, Leon gently reassures her, saying, "There's no danger, everything is all right now." With the spider now outside, he promises the area is safe, holding her quietly, offering comfort. Pressed to his chest, the Valkyrie remarks on his quickened heartbeat. He hears him admit, a bit sheepish, that spiders unsettle him as well. Her decision is quiet and firm, no further tricks like that for him in the future. At last, he requests silence about this, and Rossweisse reassures him she agrees. As dawn arrives, golden rays slip in through the curtain. She opens her eyes abruptly. Rising in bed, she puzzles over when sleep actually claimed her. Then curiosity nudges her to wonder if the man has risen earlier. She decides it's simpler if he's departed, uncertain of how to see him after all that happened. Standing, she admits it was her first break from her code, and laments showing such frailty last night. Now completely dressed, she's overwhelmed by shame and resolves never to share her secret. Opening the door, her sister greets her and asks if she is already awake. Her sister-in-law promptly comes in, teasing about her thrilling evening. Rossweisse responds that things were indeed stirring, but she hopes it won't happen again. Her sister leans close, wondering if toys were involved, but Ross quickly refutes the idea. Her sister cheerfully insists on packing some toys next time and asks about another baby's hair. Blushing, Rosa gently urges her not to fuss, suggesting breakfast instead. At the Red Dragon Sanctuary's hall, Leon leisurely spends time with the girls as they await breakfast. Leon lightheartedly pinches Muen's cheeks and she laughs. As Rossweisse and her sister join, Muen calls out with delight. Afterward, the little one, grinning, asks if they can finally start their meal. Soon, everyone gathers quietly at the breakfast table, sharing the morning meal in peaceful silence. Throughout breakfast, the couple avoid each other's gaze as breakfast continues. Between bites, Leon quietly agonizes about the awkwardness of it all. He recalls almost kissing her due to last evening's mood and dozing off holding her close. This memory makes his conscience uneasy, conflicted, and restless. Part of him despairs over betraying his home, while another reminds him that she's his wife. Lost in inner conflict, he notices the plain bread and chooses to use some peanut butter on it. Just as he reaches for the peanut butter, Rossweisse gently lays her hand on his. Both are startled by the unexpected touch. Suddenly, her sister shares the surprise of the waterbed she's designed to get their hearts pounding. She also confesses there are buttons releasing toy spiders unless they hug, enraging Rossweisse at such meddling. During dinner, Leon urged Rose to serve herself first and she did. Her sister soon asked why their faces flushed. The warrior promptly claimed the place was stuffy, and Leon nodded in quick agreement. Her relatives invited them to return for a bath, but both firmly refused. For Rossweisse's sister, teasing the couple always brought delight as their reactions amused her. She shifted the topic and questioned Leon about possible disagreements with the Crimson Dragons. She then recounted how Noah stood up to the Duke's son, while her partner boasted about defeating the Duke soon after. Her sister praised Noah as astonishing, detailed the Duke complaining to Constantine, exaggerating, and mentioned Rossweisse insulting him. Liam then recalled reading dragon histories and learning that Constantine was a hero who widened the clan's realm. Her sister cautioned them that Constantine sought expansion and could use the episode to spark trouble. Rossweisse declared she'd show no mercy to the Crimson Dragon clan if they dared attack her sanctuary over a duke. Soon they reached the sanctuary's entrance. Her sister urged a safe return and Rossweisse promised future visits. She gave them a parting gift, asking them to open it at home, urging the twins to eat plenty of meat to grow strong and visit again. The warrior thanked her and declared she would eat much more, while Noah simply nodded in agreement. Finally, her sister turned to Leon and shared a final word. She reminded him of his promise. Leon assured her that he would honor his word. Rossweisse watched, unsure what they discussed. The girls waved goodbye as they flew and her sister wished them a safe journey. Back inside, she wandered the now vacant hall. Growing thoughtful, she admitted the little dragon girls were especially charming to her. She pondered about the couple's next child when a spider dropped down suddenly before her. When she lifted it, she realized how bravely Leon had safeguarded his wife. Far away, Leon sneezed unexpectedly. With the girls asleep on his lap, he wondered if her sister had discovered his surprise. He reflected on how different Rossweisse and her sister were from all previous dragon kings he'd met. His thoughts lingered, realizing how deeply they valued family and genuine love. Softly, he admitted surprise at her sister's trust as Ross, flying beside him, asked about the earlier events. She soon bluntly asked about the promise to her sister. Leon playfully asked if she truly wanted to know. He insisted on keeping his secret, intensifying her anger, and by night they reached their retreat. The twins rested serenely in their shared bed after a long day. As she stepped out, Rossweisse shut the door, finding Leon waiting quietly for her presence. Noticing this, she faltered briefly, but he gently urged her onward without hesitation. Immediately, he unveiled his vengeful scheme, urging her to reenact the goofy video performance. He then comically mimicked the scene where young Rossweisse sang about her fondness for bathing. Irritated by his teasing, the fierce warrior could do nothing other than call out his name. Elsewhere, her sister invited Moon to enjoy more of Rossweisse's videos, which delighted the girl. Soon after, the aunt softly called for Moon, and the girl followed her to a luminous door. On the other side, her mother sang joyfully about how wonderful it felt to bathe and be clean. She continued about scrubbing and bubbles, while Leon wryly compared her song to the lark. The woman cried that the tape must be destroyed, but her sister kept it, calling it a keepsake. Her sister's present sat safely on the table, and Leon remarked how fortunate the box survived. Leon simply laughs it off, claiming that everything should just be taken as light-hearted fun. At this, Rossweisse fixes him with a look and signals he must be terribly, unmistakably bored. Then she seizes his collar and sternly utters his name, warning him of undeniable retribution. Suddenly, she suggests they resume their dispute, and he senses his teasing went too far. He swiftly tries to flee, but his partner shouts for him to halt that very instant. As he tries to escape, he realizes the door is blocked, and Rossweisse tells him he has 10 minutes. She warns that it's time he experiences the repercussions of his behavior with those videos. He halts before the door, taking in everything that had just unfolded in the house. He muses that his trouble-prone mouth betrayed him again, shocked by her reaction's intensity. He realizes this proves that the warrior's shadowed youth remains her most fragile spot. Aloud, he proclaims physical pain will not deter him from the brave path of dragon hunting. Eyes brimming, he accepts destiny, vowing to bear any harm his cause may require of him. As he thinks of Rossweisse, he decides that any sacrifice is justified if it makes the Silver Dragon Queen feel pain. Meanwhile, she bathes alone, convinced it's her role to discipline him, while Leon urges her to prepare for what lies ahead. 10 minutes later, a cry is heard as he steps into the room. Reclining on the bed, he pleads for mercy before Rossweisse, who, brandishing a whip, commands him to address her as mistress. Amused by what he sees, the young man mocks her, declaring she's quite the performer. Rossweisse simply responds by calling him a fool. He flicks the whip at him, evoking a startled cry. She chides him again for misspeaking, reminding him he hasn't grasped his predicament yet. He muses that while the sting isn't sharp, the sensation it leaves is unsettling. It dawns on him suddenly that her true intent is to humiliate him through this staged charade. He perceives the game. Ross acts as the instructor while he plays the disobedient student. To sustain the play, she asks if he knows his mistakes, and so, keeping in role, he begs forgiveness and pledges proper behavior. Rossweisse queries if he's ready to deliver his work, to which he replies, unaware of any assignment. She scolds further, criticizing his resolve to improve when he still knows nothing of his duty. He entreats his mistress to enlighten him about the task, and she remarks on her own generous patience. She then reveals his challenge for tonight, to make her dragon mark glow. She warns of harsher punishment if he fails to complete it, and Leon confidently accepts the test. He sets his hand upon her, reflecting how, after many shared nights, each of her sensitive spots is known to him. Soon his gentle touch begins to elicit the response he hopes for, like music. Rossweisse commends his performance, noting his swift learning, and together they continue their endeavor. As their lesson grows more passionate, Leon inquires whether he has finished the task and if his efforts satisfy. Rossweisse confirms it was just a warm-up, with the true instruction still ahead. She reminds him pointedly that his actual homework is yet to be presented. Taken aback, he asks if this exercise is included, lamenting his fate as he once more falls under the dragonist's demand. Then he ponders whether the root of all these events might be the dragon's mark on his chest. He notices his mouth drying, growing unsteady by the moment and embracing her even closer. The playful contest heats up on the bed as Rossweisse remarks on Leon's mischievousness. He wonders if that isn't what she wished for, and she spurs him on eagerly, urging him faster. Their fingers entwine tightly, and eventually Liam recovers his breath after the intense moment. At dawn, he muses the game has ended and asks his teacher if, having finished, he may now leave. But as he prepares to go, Rossweisse stops him by his clothes, saying he's finished only one subject and 6 away. wait. Perplexed by her words, he can only stammer out a confused question about her meaning. A wail breaks the night. Leon claims she loves work, but she commands him to prepare for more study. Rossweisse beams mildly while the sunrise finds her refreshed and him exhausted with shadowed eyes. The twins come and Noah asks about his sleepless face as Moon points at his tired appearance. He sighs, explaining that he stayed up late catching up on homework through the night. Mun wonders if adults must also do homework, and Rossweisse explains grown-ups have their tasks too. That reply leaves the girls thoughtful, until Mun exclaims her discovery of a powerful rule. She shares her idea: when mommy thrives, daddy weakens, and the reverse is true as well. Leon compliments Muen's insight, admiring her for noticing what most people overlook. He vows to boldly defend Muen if anyone claims all she's good for is being adorable. Noah, witnessing this talk, then gazes upward and quietly announces that he has arrived. She bids farewell to both her mother and her younger sister before departing. Rossweisse urges caution while Mun asks her big sister to return soon for more time together. Liam also says goodbye, telling Noah to study hard and promises to see her the coming weekend. Noah simply nods and announces her departure as energy bears her away in a flash. While Mun waves to her sister and a dragon, the family silently watches her magical leave-taking. Shortly after, the father inquires what the younger daughter wants to do now her sister's in school. Mun observes that her dad is often weary, and her mom appears constantly concerned about him. Decided, she announces that since sister is away, she'll help her father train and grow stronger. She tugs his hand, inviting him to run on the field, which he joins. Rossweisse, observing, decides it's intriguing and resolves to watch what unfolds. As Liam leads the count for exercises, Moon questions why it's necessary. He immediately explains warming up is vital, and the girl assures she understands. Rossweisse arrives saying she'll join them. Seeing her mom, Moon cheers for this chance to run together. Rossweisse warns her daughter not to expect mercy, and Moon says her mother won't get any either. Leon tells her to watch her step, as she's used to sitting behind a desk all day. The warrior jokingly brings up her victory at the last competition, but he claims he held back. The little girl, thrilled by this, calls out for her parents to compete once more. The man quickly silences his daughter, saying it's not a child's place to talk about fights. Mun asks why her dad can't defeat her mom, and he marvels at her fierceness, then gently says he doesn't truly try since he doesn't wish to harm his wife. From afar, Rossweisse calls him stubborn and proposes they see who can run furthest. Leon takes on this new challenge, stating the endurance contest isn't decided, while Moon pledges to win. The maid raises her hand and signals the beginning of their race. With a crisp command, the maid declares go. The trio dashes off, and Liam asks his companion if her tail gets in the way when she runs. She answers quickly, saying her tail actually aids balance, which he clearly lacks. Despite Ross being ahead, she taunts him about showing his own tail, but he claims he doesn't need one to win. After a couple laps, tired Moon drops down, saying she can't run more. The maid reassures her that Princess Muon did wonderfully just joining in. So the maid invites her to the side to cheer together for their queen and prince. Leon, still running, notes his advantage is slim since silver dragon folk are swift by nature. Sticking with his choice, he knows he can't quit now. As a dragon hunter, his pride means he must win. He summons all his effort, shouting and recalling the hunter's sacred code. Hunter lives for battle and finds rest only when life ends. After 20 minutes, Leon is sprawled out on the grass gasping. Rose comes over and wonders if he'll yield, but he refuses from where he lies. With a smile, she jests, asking if he wants to continue racing since he's unwilling to accept defeat. Determined, Leon requests 2 days to prepare, vowing that he'll surely defeat her. She taunts him that even 2 years wouldn't help, but he persistently believes he'll succeed. Ross steps closer, music drifting, and inquires if Leon will now show his true strength. With a grave look, Leon changes the subject, saying baths uplift his spirit. He warns her grudges bring consequences, but notes she's the one clinging to resentment. Ross calls to Mume, stating that since her father feels weak, it's time for them to exercise. Little Mume admits her dad is somewhat frail, insisting that's why he needs to train more. Stunned by his daughter's words, Leon is silent as Ross leads Yun away. From afar, he advises never to undervalue a seemingly frail father, as fortunes can change. Later, the family gathers to restore their strength over a special meal, and Moon gently asks her father to let her feed him. He accepts her kindness, opening his mouth to taste the food she lovingly provides. The man promptly collapses after eating, and Ross kindly reminds him not to strain himself so much. Still sprawled out, he grumbles that last night's trial wore him down, insisting victory would have been his otherwise. Ross teasingly asks if he wishes to continue the night's work. Startled, he suddenly gets up. In response, Leon scoops Moon up, proclaiming he'll spend the night with her, sharing a new tale. When Moon questions their arrangement, he answers that it begins at that very moment. Ross consents, but only if they promise not to stay up later than they should. Joyfully cradled in her father's arms, Moon happily agrees with her mother's condition. Ross departs, strolling alone down a seemingly endless hallway. Suddenly, she stops and commands the hidden figure to reveal themselves. From the shadows, her subordinate steps forward and respectfully addresses her as Majesty. Without hesitation, Ross asks for news and learns that Ta Lawrence's secret home was discovered but abandoned over a year ago when they left the Empire. Her subordinate adds they gave away everything, prompting Ross to inquire about any exception. The answer is swift: all was donated except a beloved donkey which the couple took with them. Ross instructs her to keep following Ta's trail, and the woman sets forth to fulfill her new task. After the informant leaves, the queen stands quietly before pondering the reasons Lean's master left the Empire. In another place, a far-off voice responds in surprise to some unforeseen news. The report stuns the pair, making the man ask if he heard correctly about a family sports day. Ben Mun affirms that the school is holding the event next week. Rossweisse observes that parents never used to take part, and her daughter shares it's a fresh idea. The child then eagerly asks her mother about the place she got in the games long ago. With a sense of pride, the mother says she took first place, which greatly impresses the girls. Quickly, the daughter asks about her father, learning he didn't rank, which sparks her curiosity. The warrior laughs, explaining that his advantage seemed unfair to the academy, so they hid the results. Noah wonders aloud if that means her father cheated. Leon denies it, saying he quietly melted his secret medal into a bracelet for his grandmother. Rossweisse is curious how one who prizes honor would melt his prize, to which the man says he'd rather avoid having an honor he can't display proudly. She then wonders whether he's truly going to join the games. Noah explains that the event is meant for enjoyment and doesn't influence scores. Resolutely, the girl says she still wants to claim first prize. Leon realizes she's inherited his fierce drive to win. With that, he and Rossweisse trade a knowing look before announcing they will both join her at the games. Un excitedly wants to join too, but No informs her that only 3 members can register. To lift her spirits, her dad gives her the role of cheer captain and says her support is vital to victory. Immediately, the young one commits to cheer as hard as she can. With the family's support, victory seems certain. In advance, Ling starts a vigorous training routine to ready the family for the upcoming contest. While training, he watches Rossweisse warm up and thinks that dragon women like her inspire respect. They truly suit anything they wear. Rossweisse soon approaches and suggests a warm-up run before the kids wake, which he warmly accepts. While running, Leon asks about the events and Rossweisse lists the triathlon, racing, and jumping contests. He answers that it sounds much like his own school contests, but she insists not to take dragon events lightly. Leon claims dragon hunters aren't so simple either. Ross teases, recalling someone collapsing after just a few laps days ago. The jab annoys him and he yells it was her fault for making him work late. Rose then pauses to offer motivation. She suggests that if they claim first place, Leon will be rewarded with a week to fully rest. Leon, with shining excitement, checks if she's serious and inspired, claims victory for their family. He calls out, "Let's go," dashing into training while Rossweisse sees her method ignite a spark. After finishing the warm-up, she comes over and asks if his muscles and joints feel ready yet. Leon leaps up, bursting with vigor, and laughs that it feels as if he's taken a potent boost. Rossweisse grabs a rope, noting that family festivities likely mean unconventional contests await them. She says that for this, they must work together as a unit, not just build their strength. Leon backs away, half grinning, asking if the rope means more tying games after their last match. Rose chides him, questioning his knowledge of a 3-legged race, while Leon sheepishly admits he once witnessed it. She then says their next challenge is basic coordination, and while hesitant, he accepts the trial. Once their legs are bound, Lee notes the closeness and to ease tensions, urges the start of practice. He nudges her to move along, wondering aloud why she is standing idle and not joining in. Rossweisse retorts he gave no target, prompting him to point to the grassy area for a safer fall. They falter at the start. Rossweisse blames Leon for pushing while he claims she pushed first. Leon aims to settle things, telling her not to interrupt his pace, but Rossweisse just thanks him for a laugh. To help them mesh their stride, Leon begins counting down for their initial coordinated steps. As he reaches the end, she shouts, "Run," and springs into motion at a furious pace. Her sudden sprint leaves him completely overwhelmed and struggling to match the speed. Liam is dragged forward, shouts anxiously, then unties himself, as Russ questions his grasp of teamwork. She mocks his clumsy pace. He retorts back that he'll never stoop down to her style. Leon suggests counting leg movements to solve their trouble. She nods, and a side touch surprises her. As she responds, Leon explains the gesture helps them keep a perfect rhythm together. Blushing, Rosa agrees to press on, and soon they move in harmony, matching steps to his count. Later, she has Leon do push-ups with her perched on his back, and he jokes she loves the view. Their training is so intense that Leon is left almost unable to support himself by the end. To inspire one more burst, Ross promises a kiss should he summon the strength to endure. Yet he shouts he'll never give in, finally finishing his 500 push-ups fueled by willpower. Time seemed to vanish and, as planned, Homeland, sent his academy's first family games began with Vice Principal Wilson announcing the opening from the podium. From the seats, Little Moon cheered for her family as commentator Cha Lao took on the narration. Cha Lao revealed the first event, a 3,000-meter relay requiring 3 family members with victory to the fastest team. The organizer instructed teams to gather their numbers and proceed to each designated starting location. Once their numbers were handed out, Noah chose her mom to start and herself for the second leg, with Lion readily agreeing. She assigned her father the final part of the race and he assured her, of course, sealing their plan. From the start, Rossweisse announced the race was about to commence, urging all to get ready. Prepared, they exchanged one last glance. On the track, Ross promised her daughter she'd pass the baton as the first. Meanwhile, the waiting father and daughter stood in place as the organizers called the next runners to the assembly area. Before leaving, Leon told his daughter he'd wait at the third leg, asking her to stay safe. He then leaned toward his little one and asked if she'd support him with cheers while he ran. With silent approval, Hello Burl nodded and promised she would encourage her dad. They touched fists in solidarity before the announcer called the first runners to their places. Muse cheered her mom from the crowd while the organizers signaled everyone on the track to prepare. At the signal, Rossweisse leapt forward. The announcer noted Silver Dragon's runner had the lead. She observed runner 10, Misty of Electric Dragon Clan, was quickly gaining on the frontrunner. Nearby, another father commented on their speed, making Lion think of the Electric Clan's evasiveness. The commentator highlighted that number 7 reclaimed the lead and gained a strong advantage. She asked President Duncan for a winner prediction, but he replied that the outcome was still unknown. Another father boasted about his wife's lead, and Leon agreed before the rival confirmed her skill with a smile. But Lion added a thought, and Leo concluded his own wife was truly the most exceptional of them. Suddenly, Rossweisse gained new momentum, picking up speed to surge ahead on the track. The surprised opponent wondered where such explosive energy still came from within her rival. As she ran, Rossweisse considered how pressing against the wind tested her from leading the whole way. Her rival soon realized she couldn't match Ross's brisk pace, while the commentator shared that number 7 expertly used her adversary's body to lessen wind resistance and accelerate on the final stretch. The announcer, confirming the slick move, declared her first to complete the baton handoff and soon noted number 10 had also passed it, wondering if the new runner could still catch up with Noah. Ross felt a jolt of concern as she anxiously watched her daughter dash forward. Her husband flashed a reassuring thumbs up from afar as she clenched her fist and placed her faith in the next runners. Meanwhile, the announcer reports the second leg athletes are off while one contender laments the leader's pace. The commentator then states that competitor Noel and runner Dean take the lead at this point in the race. Dean overtakes and mocks "Goodbye, little legs," while she silently swears to keep him within reach. In the crowd, Mun calls out, affirming her belief and support her sister can hear. The commentator questions if Dean's advantage is enough, but the president declares the outcome isn't settled till the end. Moments later, the announcer notes both rivals are moving past the final curve toward the home stretch. He emphasizes both dragons are side by side, will first neither pass the baton in the yielding an ultimate inch relay to the other. Now, the announcer wonders aloud who will first pass the baton in the ultimate relay. The commentator clarifies that Dean hands off with a slim lead, while Noah completes hers as well. When her part is over, she apologizes to her mother for not preserving the team's gained advantage. Rossweisse comforts her, saying she did great and that the older competitor simply had a physical edge. She invites her daughter to the finish line to root for Daddy, while Muan yells encouragements from the stands. On the track, the rival warns Lion he's about to pull ahead by 5 seconds. Leaping forward, the rival laughs as he taunts, but Liam refuses to let anyone disregard his zeal for a break. As the contest grows fierce, the commentator says Gordon and the Silver Dragon surrogate keep accelerating while the president insists the result waits. Noah quietly urges her father on, and Leon is startled to hear her support from the crowd. Inspired, he promises himself victory since Noah called him daddy just now. Music with energy anew, he races beside his rival as the opposing father fears being overtaken now. Resolute, he threatens to hand Leon a taste of defeat. Suddenly, the rival attempts to trip him up, finding Leon exposed to the unexpected ruse. Dodging deftly, Leon warns if dirty tactics appear, then responsibility can't be his concern. Thus, the rival racer falters upon the hurdles he meant for another to fall on. The commentator states that Gordon has slipped at the very last part of the contest. Seeing the route free, she affirms Leon finished first, and soon after the announcer commends the Malawife family's relay race victory. Following their triumph, the father approaches Noah, questioning what she just mentioned. Shyly, the young girl addresses him as daddy. He urges her to repeat the word, but Noah claims she'll do so only if they win first in the games. Rossweisse asks if he's injured and he reassures her, then the rival's father accuses Lion of cheating by kicking dirt during the race's end, appealing to the judges. Leon retorts by asking how a would-be attacker now claims to be a victim. He gestures to the other man's attire and points out that the marks on his shoulder are evidence of attempted foul play. Feigning innocence, Leon tells the judges he was running quickly and some dust might have flown up by chance, insisting he meant no harm. One official asks the accused to allow an inspection, but his wife prevents him from getting closer. As the couple tries to find out why the inspection is blocked, someone approaches asking for an explanation. Immediately, the rival's father recognizes the newcomer as Thor, head of the Electric Dragons and leader of the arbitration committee. The next morning in Sky City, Leon laments losing his holiday, then writes vacation on a fogged glass. Lying on a table, Leon regrets the price of winning the championship. Outside, a little girl points at him to her mother, who quickly tells her not to stare. Leon bids a heartfelt goodbye to his vacation. Roses asks about her outfit and he half-heartedly says it's fine without even glancing, so she wonders why he doesn't turn his head. He finally turns, gives a thumbs up, and tells her she shines in any outfit. But the woman insists the clothes don't fit her as they should. He heads to the rail where more garments hang. He then selects a black swimsuit, seeks his opinion, and models the suit asking for his thoughts. Leon, caught off guard, averts his eyes in shock before advising her not to choose that one. Rossweisse says she thought he liked her appearance in that particular outfit. A woman arrives to mention she already picked swimsuits for the girls. Rossweisse wonders if he's dissatisfied, but Leon says no, and she insists the hot springs date is set. She mentions his daughters eagerly await the trip, and their joy will bring him happiness. Leon feigns happiness about the trip, so Rossweisse suggests no touching for 7 days, though Leon doubts her since she's always present. She solemnly vows on her name as the Queen of Silver Dragons to keep this promise. He agrees anxiously, and she softly hints that he'll find the wager far tougher than expected. Leon claims he can restrain himself and wouldn't initiate anything without a reason. She warns him that if his dragon pattern emerges, he loses, though he accepts the risks. The following morning, they reach the drifting Cloud Valley. In the lobby, staff recognize them as the Academy's exemplary champion family. Leon affirms, and she says all costs are covered. Moo eyes the aquarium hungrily, corrected by Noah. The receptionist gives Leon the key card, prompting him to question the two-room setup, which she asks if he dislikes. She offers a honeymoon suite, but Leon quickly turns down the suggestion. Calling Noah and Muin, he sets off as the receptionist wishes them a pleasant holiday. Afterwards, the family makes their way down the hotel's corridor. Leon understands he must share a room with Rossweisse again and schemes to avoid it. He asks his daughters to room with him, but both prefer sleeping together instead. Muin recalls Aunt Issa's advice on having space. He grieves as his idea is thwarted. Noah assures she will care for Muin, emphasizing they should relish their moments. Rossweisse hands the hotel key to Noah, telling them to call if anything comes up. Ewan joyfully gathers Noah to open their room, leaving Leon sorrowful that they've grown independent. Rossweisse urges him forward while he senses his true ordeal is just starting. Inside, Rossweisse gazes out, captivated by the scene unfolding from the window. Leon brings in the suitcase, as she remarks the scenery is remarkably beautiful here. He asks if she's been before. She says no, explaining her role keeps her too busy for outings. He notes she brought a camera this time to capture special memories together. Leon jumps at the mention of the camera, curious whether it's the same one he once used. When the suitcase opens, it's indeed the camera. She confirms it's her school sports prize. He grows anxious, recalling that embarrassing sports photos of her are inside, right as Rossweisse arrives asking for it. Firmly holding it, Leon insists he should take the pictures, boasting of his expertise. Asked about his photography skills, he shares he's photographed his master's donkey since childhood. She agrees and invites him for a stroll before the evening barbecue and fireworks begin, and he gladly joins her. As the family wanders the garden, Leon declares himself the day's photographer, delighting the young girl. Soon, the two little girls pose side by side, ready for a photo near the grand statue. Noah feeds a carrot to a gentle fawn while the children admire Rossweisse among the deer, praising her beauty. Suddenly, Mo spots the carousel and eagerly calls out for her mother to join in the fun. The woman attempts her luck at winning a plush toy from a claw arcade game. Leon uses this moment to snap a candid shot, complimenting her lively expression. He rejoices in capturing Ross's joyful smile and examines the photo just taken on the camera's screen. She praises the outcome, while Leon asserts he deserves more credit than he's given. Waiting in line for drinks, she confronts him, quietly asking if he's trailing her. She then turns back to him, holding a tiny stuffed bear behind her back. Leon looks at her puzzled, still trying to figure out what she means. Rossweisse then hands him the bear, reminding him that he once gave her one in Sky City. He grins, explaining he previously gifted her the Bear King, but this little one is just its baby. His remark mildly irritates her, and she reacts with a tinge of frustration. She asks if he wants the gift. He quickly assures her his words weren't meant to offend. Elsewhere on a bench, Muin grumbles about how slow her parents are at bringing her drink. Noah then admits she feels a bit envious of Muin at times, which surprises her sister, prompting her to ask why. Noah reveals it's because Muin can speak her mind to their parents with such ease. Muin insists she could do the same, but Noah disagrees, explaining she's matured and can't be so carefree anymore. The story reminds us that Noah was not always like this. Powerless, for she arrived only minutes before her sister. Together, they wandered under their mother's care, believing her to be all-powerful and wise. One day, upon seeing her mother beside her ailing father, Noah wondered if she might someday help. From that moment, the urge to protect her family took root and began guiding her actions. Driven by this need, Noah grew up swiftly, thriving on independence and high grades. She worked tirelessly so her mother would never feel the sorrow she once did. Now, Muen admits she's not clever with hard things, but that she's longing for what Noah has. Noah, surprised, asks what would inspire jealousy, to which Muen rises and insists Noah is mistaken. Muen says her sister is clever, always looking out for her, and receives many accolades. She admits wishing to be like Noah, much to her sister's shock, who answers that futures are uncertain. Muen then quietly wonders aloud what her own dreams for the future truly are. She responds that she must become the person that everyone expects her to be. Leon arrives, playfully teasing that Muen resembles her older sister in many ways. He brings his girls their drinks, which they thank him for. That night, fireworks blaze across the sky. Enthralled, the two sisters gaze together at the display of vibrant fireworks above. Seated nearby, their parents speak, glad the journey was completed for the joy of their children. Cradling a teddy bear, Leon explains his wish to preserve every cherished memory as their father. Sudden detail then captures his full attention. Rossweisse steps over, camera in hand, asking about the photos. Leon recalls trying to have them developed with no success at the resort. Rossweisse inquires when the dear photo was taken, and Leon realizes his secret shots come next. Thinking quickly, he loosens his grasp on the bear and gives Rossweisse candy to distract her. Leon removes the candy wrapper with measured care. Then, closing the distance, he courteously presents the sweet treat to Rossweisse. His nearness causes a brief moment of surprise for her. She asks why he's so close. He simply replies he thought she wanted the candy he brought. Rossweisse realizes he's snapped photos all day, but hasn't recorded himself at all. She reaches for the camera and suggests capturing a moment of the two of them together. Leon casually agrees, joking it's so their daughters won't wonder about missing photos. He tells her to come closer so they both fit, and lightly teases her about the peace sign. Soon they pose for a selfie together, mirroring each other's playful gestures. Later, a sparkler comes to life in Rossweisse, and Noah delight in playing with its sparkling light. Leon sits observing them, saying it's rare to see such joy from both at once. He wonders aloud to Muen, who's drifting off in his lap, why she isn't joining, but she mumbles she is simply tired. Moi says she wanted to give her sister and mom time together, prompting Leon to admire her growth, yet the little girl insists she's not grown up and just enjoys seeing her family happy. He feels moved, recognizing that despite their differences, his daughters' hearts are full of love. He offers to take her to bed but sees she's already deeply asleep, curled up peacefully in his lap. Rossweisse quietly joins him with Noah, asking if Moi is asleep. He lifts his daughter, says it's time to head back. Together they stand, watching the moment unfold in shared quiet. Ross then offers to carry Noah as well, extending her gentle support. Noah looks at her mother, surprised by the offer but quickly softens. A shy smile she accepts, and the family walks home, though the trip's first day ends on a somber note. Suddenly, the setting changes, pulling the scene into the warmth of a hot spring. Back inside, the girls bid their parents good night and gently shut the door behind them. Leon falls onto the bed, grateful for rest, but Rosie asks if they'll share, and he hurriedly declines. He claims he's heading to the hot springs for a while and suggests she go to sleep first. The hot spring bubbles quietly under starlight. Leon enjoys the calm, reflecting on their day. He tries to think up a reason for sleeping elsewhere instead of sharing the bed. Suddenly, someone comes up behind him. Startled, he greets Rossweisse, who questions his unease. He tells him the fireworks are starting and asks for the camera to capture the moment. His thoughts race, suddenly recalling that he's left the camera within reach. Rossweisse notices the item on the chair and realizes he brought it along with him. He heads over to fetch the camera as he anxiously observes her. He suddenly understands he must not let her get the camera under any circumstances. Leon quickly splashes in the water, shouts for her to wait, and invites her to the hot ring. Startled, she questions what he just told her. He repeats the offer, inviting her to join him in the water. Rose silently gazes at him for a brief moment. She tells him she brought a swimsuit and warns him to behave, but he insists he will stay true to his morals. He tells him to remember his promise and heads off to change. Alone, Leon tries to compose himself, vowing that nothing will happen and he must protect the photos. While waiting, he starts reciting the dragon hunter's honors for distraction. Not long after, Leon hears movement, realizing it's her returning. A woman dressed in a purple outfit appears in the doorway. Her clothes cover her completely as Rossweisse enters, not in the expected swimsuit. Leon gazes at her in total astonishment. Leon mocks her clothing, saying it won't faze him. He casts him a sharp look, calling him arrogant. Rose steps into the water, explaining it's a present from her sister as Leon laughs. Heavy silence fills the hot spring as they sit side by side. Leon turns away, glad for her modest swimsuit, but she teases him, wondering if he's nervous. He faces her and insists there is no reason for concern. Suddenly shocked, he points at her and exclaims about her swimsuit. The outer clothes were a disguise, hiding a real swimsuit underneath. She complains she didn't expect her sister's gift to be so surprising. He quickly gives him a knowing, playful smile. He draws near and inquires softly about his opinion. Leon wonders why she didn't just change first and Rossweisse jests, questioning if brave Leon grows uneasy. He senses her game and knows he must disrupt the knack she holds over him. Leon sees her acting predictably, knowing that she always begins things by stirring him. Next arrives her relentless act of light-hearted seduction toward him. To finish, she deftly drops every consequence squarely into his hands. Determined, Leon resolves to use this playful match to further his own aims. Unfazed, he pushes back, hinting at unveiling his dragon mark to gauge her response. Music Rose fixes her gaze on him and assures him that she remains master of her own actions. Leon boldly offers a wager, beckoning her to prove herself as confident as she claims. She instantly agrees, leaving him to inquire about the price should she be proven wrong. With a smile, she promises him a week's reprieve if he prevails, and confident, he accepts, sensing her compliance. Abruptly, Leon suggests they admire the fireworks and Roses asks if any sparkle matches her mark, to which he denies. To block any tempting views, he pointedly keeps his gaze from her. He's curious about her sudden switch to singing without warning. Rossweisse likens her dragon's pattern to glowing stars, then inquires about her song, but he claims his bath tune remains unmatched. Excitedly, Rossweisse declares that her dragon's pattern is now shining. Leon is dumbfounded by her announcement, yet she admits it was a fib and nothing had changed. He notes Rossweisse has already begun her charms, so he reveals his own tale, refusing to be bested. Leon exposes his tail, lifting it out of the water. She regards him with puzzlement and asks his purpose for such a gesture. He calmly says it's impossible to hold hands during the spectacle. Instead, he offers his tail, prompting her to demand her release right away. Rossweisse desperately insists again, yet Leon doesn't comply as she glares and tells him that his tail is his critical vulnerability and vows to conquer him. Simultaneously, she trembles ever so slightly at his lingering touch. Sensing his scheme, Rossweisse asks what's so odd about holding hands during fireworks and takes his hand. Leon falters, his heart racing. Even that slight action feels like a turning point to him. Their fingers entwine, and Leon realizes there was no defense against such a move. Rossweisse softly asks him to give in so they can end their contest, but he pulls away, insisting he won't be charmed. Leon admits that forcing himself through the situation isn't pleasant either. He teases Ross, claiming she's also struggling to keep her emotions in line. Suddenly, a mark begins to shine on his back. Mid bursts of fireworks, the pair share a heartfelt kiss. In the morning, Noah bangs on the door and loudly insists their parents wake up. Yoon approaches, asking her sister to explain all the commotion. Noah complains their mom should be feeling weak today, and Muin asks about their dad's whereabouts. When Muin asks if a special offering is required for their dad to show up, her sister accuses her of craving steak instead. Deciding to eat first, Noah says she'll take her sister if their parents are still missing, as Leon and Ross sleep nearby. He slowly lifts his head, realizing they both failed the Dragon Mark challenge the night before. Leon vividly remembers sharing a confused but meaningful kiss with Rossweisse. He realizes this was their very first true kiss together. He brings his hand up and absent-mindedly touches his lips. Rising from bed, Leon questions his reasoning for such a difficult challenge. Meanwhile, Rossweisse feigns sleep, hiding her feelings. Rossweisse wonders about Leon touching his lips, recalling last night's events. She recalls their first kiss, wraps in a blanket, and insists she didn't want that kiss at all. Ross blames everything on the presence of the dragon symbol. Later, the group heads to a sprawling water park. In the pool, Muin ambushes Noah with a blast from her water gun. Muin brags about her water attack, while Noah grows irritated with all the splashes. Roses wonders aloud why Leon hesitates to join in their games. Roses begins recalling the previous evening before a mysterious voice interrupts her words. Approaching, a couple inquires if they are the parents of the children nearby. Yuna introduces herself and her husband Z, asking if they may have a moment to converse. Then Rossweisse greets them and presents Leon as her husband. Yuna shares they are newlyweds escaping a dragon feud. Rossweisse keeps watch on Constantine's actions. Yuna observes their closeness, and Rossweisse says many dragons have noted it too. Leon admits they only shared their first kiss last night, while Yuna envies them their sweet kids. Admitting she's considering it, Yuna asks for advice. Rossweisse confides she agreed without much thought. Leon quietly remarks on the female dragon's skill for embellishing tales. He suggests that such things come about naturally and aren't something to fear. Zay asks how Leon handles arguments, while Yuna admits loving to have the final say sometimes. Leon is left uncertain about how best to respond to their question. Leon teases about her playful side despite tough looks, and then Rossweisse tickles him, saying he embarrassed her. Zay notes their exchange. Leon explains that every woman has moments of vulnerability. He adds that during vulnerable times, a man should be there to support and shield his wife. He says that living up to this is the mark of a dependable and good man. After their week-long journey, daily life resumes in the halls of the Silver Dragon Castle. Rossweisse asks a servant if she located the tigers, and the woman answers affirmatively. She tells of tracking the secret hideout, shielded by barriers and hidden on the Empire's edge. Rossweisse wonders why they would choose so secret a spot and succeed in reaching such heights. Her servant explains the man named Tiger is incredibly strong and poses a real threat. Rossweisse thinks about how Shirley, while not strong, is among those she trusts most. She realizes that Lion's master must be exceptional given such a strong assessment. Shirley reveals she was spotted but allowed to leave to deliver a message. Tiger wants to meet Rossweisse. With quick deliberation, Rossweisse realizes they must meet and soars away with her dragons. Hours later, they reach a waterfall where Shirley says her hosts wait inside and insists she enter alone. Rossweisse tells her what to do if she doesn't return within the next hour. He crosses the waterfall's mist, shielded by a magical barrier. As tea is prepared, Rossweisse fixes her gaze upon her mysterious companion. She instantly recognizes this figure as the master who trained Lion. He asks her to sit, and Rossweisse remarks Lion was the fiercest dragon hunter she faced. She feels a presence from this man, as overwhelming as Lion's, perhaps greater. Rossweisse confesses she has waited 2 years for this chance to finally meet him. He cuts to the point, inquiring about Lion's well-being. The master simply reassures her, Lion is alive still. She remembers Lion's imprisonment, but the master admits he's glad his stubborn pupil survived. He mentions Lion paid dearly in order for his location to be discovered. The master bids her prevent Lion's escape to the Empire in the coming year. Rossweisse presses him for the reason and wonders why the rescue isn't pursued. He reveals that 2 years ago, when vanquished dragon hunters returned, the Empire erupted with rage. Consequently, the blame was placed on a supposed traitor among the dragon hunter army. Rossweisse grasps that Leon, missing and unnamed, became a scapegoat, and the master agrees Lion is safest with her for now. Rossweisse consents to watch over him, though attaches a single demand. She asks for all available information on Lion, especially details of his summer youth. The master raises an eyebrow at her peculiar request, then gives a chest filled with Lion's old love letters. He adds the letters were meant for Lion's future bride, making it her choice what becomes of them. With a smile, Rossweisse claims Lion's day has come. The master inquires about her new interest in his ward. She fishes a child's drawing from the chest. He notes Lion at 6 admired tall, silver-haired, aloof girls. He seems momentarily surprised by the similarity of her appearance to Lion's early ideal. Her appearance perfectly mirrors the description Leon once gave. Ross seeks more details, but the master insists on not betraying his apprentice any further. He presents a recent photograph of his cherished student. He urges her to wait and promises to reveal Leon's first love. Rossweisse wonders who it could be. Leon's master soon appears with a donkey, apologizing for being late as the animal was irritable. Rossweisse, shocked, inquires if the donkey truly was Leon's first love. He chuckles and admits that it is true. He explains that Leon could never tame the stubborn creature which trailed him everywhere, making it his earliest affection. Leon's master shares that the youth bears a mark on his nose, gifted by the donkey's kick. Rossweisse breathes more easily after listening to this tale. She feels a sense of relief, regards the donkey, and understands her unease was unfounded. She turns to depart, stating she'll leave the photos, yet requests proof Leon survives. Ross hands him a card, assuring him Leon will comprehend the meaning. She bids farewell, suggesting this meeting may be unique, and declares she wants more than a year from Leon's life. Suddenly, she vanishes in an electric swirl. Leon's master gazes at the empty space, pondering the truth in her parting words. Lion's master soon notices the card has left behind a shard of metal. He's startled when a woman approaches, interrupting as he murmurs Leon's name. Charlotte Poseidon, his wife, arrives, asks about the boy, and receives the photos as he assures her Leon's life exceeds all expectations. Charlotte studies the family image and remarks the young man's fortunes have surpassed his own master's lot. He then queries whether he has reached a decision. Tiger takes up his weapon, announcing it's time to restore his apprentice's name and call it a gift for his granddaughters. Darkness settles around the Silver Dragon Castle as night grows deeper. Leon ponders Rossweisse's odd behavior since she vanished for 2 days with no explanation. He questions a servant, who informs him that Her Majesty has left for important matters. In the present, he learns she'll make dinner herself when she returns home. Rossweisse brings their meal, but he senses something amiss as she invites him to dine together. Mewen, delighted, sees her mother's steak look tasty, while Leon is shocked by a carrot-filled plate. Rossweisse calmly explains to him that it's a vegetable salad. He protests that there are only carrots, but she clarifies it as a carrot salad. Mewen asks if her dad dislikes carrots, rendering him speechless. Rossweisse points out he always advises Mewen not to be a fussy eater. Accepting defeat, Leon declares that he'll eat everything on his plate. He secretly wonders if she has somehow learned of his aversion. Suddenly, Rossweisse recalls something and says they'll have a talk in his room tonight, which shocks him. Later, the door to their bedroom gradually swings open. Rossweisse enters as Leon, feigning interest in his book, sits on the bed while she comes closer. Standing by the bed, she asks if he feels nervous. He denies it as she sits down and calls for his focus. He firmly urges him to move nearer to her. Leon, clad in pajamas, draws close and wonders if she's missed him after 2 days away. Rossweisse says yes, then asks him to turn off the lights. The soft glow of the bedside lamp vanishes as it is switched off. Together in bed they lie side by side, yet after half an hour nothing unfolds. He burrows under the covers, bemused over what is really happening. He quietly asks if she truly meant only to sleep. Peering sleepily, she teases, "What else were you hoping for?" He turns away, claiming that rest is all he really desires for now. Leon chooses to bide his time, secretly planning to surprise her one day. Soft ticking fills the night as the bedside clock measures each second's passing. All at once, Rossweisse wakes abruptly and opens her eyes. Rising and seizing the clock, she recalls advice. Leon may talk in his sleep at precisely 2:30 a.m. Rossweisse moves nearer and chooses to start with a basic question, so she requests his youngest daughter's name. Leon mutters Muin in his sleep, confirming her approach works. Then she asks his type, and he reveals he likes tall, silver-haired girls. She questions why, despite this, he refused similar girls at school, and he explains he just didn't like her. Rossweisse, upset by his hesitation, pushes for more preferences, and he admits he likes elegant, mature women. Rossweisse asks if he'd like classmates in such attire. He says no, so she asks who he'd prefer in it. Smiling softly, he murmurs the name Rossweisse. Surprised and flustered, she is left speechless by his unexpected confession. Rossweisse wakes him and demands he explain his desire to see her dressed as a bunny girl. He begins to offer a reason but promptly drifts back to sleep. Annoyed, she recognizes he's fallen asleep again at a vital moment. Rossweisse threatens to embarrass him next time he talks in his sleep. The next afternoon, as everyone plays at Silver Dragon Castle, Leon asks when Rossweisse left the night before, and she says after he dozed off. She playfully asks if her leaving upset him, but he replies she may stay wherever she likes within her castle. Rossweisse shares she overheard his sleep talking, and he anxiously asks what he said. She fibs, claiming he regretted declining a classmate's confession. Leon quickly disagrees, explaining he was focused on serving his homeland and ignored romance. She hints dreams show hidden truths, but he strongly denies it again. Meanwhile, Muin, gathering flowers, notices a strange sound nearby. He shouts for her sister and dashes toward a pillar of light as Leon urges caution. Noah steps in with Muin, announcing her return. Leon spies an item in Noah's hand and curiously inquires about it. Noah says it's an academy homework, an 800-word essay on family and happiness they read together. Rossweisse is surprised it's a contest, while Noah mentions rival families are dragons and cocoons. Noah says she'll use her family's advantage as viviparous dragons, and as Mona questions it, Noah readies her answer. Softly she shouts their greatest strength is their parents' love, leaving both adults awestruck. Leon and Rosa gaze at each other, uncertain about their feelings as Noah seeks help with inspiration, while Muin grows enthusiastic to observe their journey. Leon agrees, and Rosa inquires how Noah envisions their cooperation. Noah commands them to head out for day together at Sky City. The pair dons matching outfits chosen by their daughters for their visit to Sky City the next day. Leon proposes they begin, and Rosa gives her consent. He doubts Noah's knowledge of dating, yet Rossweisse boasts of her keen understanding despite her youth. Questioned if she's dated before, she explains she's dedicated centuries to her duties and notes Leon gave his life to his work and children. They both realize neither knows how to date, but Rossweisse asserts she's already made plans for it. Leon is shocked when he discovers she just absorbed romance stories. He confesses he also researched date ideas and compiled familiar couple activities. Rossweisse displays her list, carefully avoiding activities that are too physically intimate. Leon cheers up, determined to give Noah the most perfect content for her writing. At the zoo, Noah takes notes, Muin enjoys her treat, and afterward the parents shop under their daughter's vigilant eyes. During a play, both Leon and his spouse doze off, while their daughters remain attentive. Abruptly, they are chosen by the show's master of ceremonies. Leon kneels down and proposes as part of the stage event. He slips a ring onto her hand as their daughters watch. Then a couple enters a tent for a fortune reading. Fortune teller greets them and asks if Rossweisse is born under Scorpio's sign. Amazed, Ross confirms her October 25 birthday and wonders at the accuracy of the guess. Fortune teller says Scorpios show intensity and emotion beneath an icy demeanor. Leon quietly believes it's a childish trick, but the fortune teller insists Scorpios love fiercely or not at all. Turning to him, she guesses he's a Leo, which Leon acknowledges. She responds that their signs clash, giving Leon a sudden epiphany. He addresses her as his mentor and says their horoscope discord explains their disagreements. The fortune teller Seduced he makes Rossweisse feel more secure and openly shares how he feels. Leon contemplates showing his love, and as they feel a bond, the fortune teller admits this was her plan. After that, she offers to look into her crystal ball and predict what awaits them soon. She asks him to put his hand on the crystal. He consents and places his hands on it. Fortune teller claims that iron bars and overgrown weeds appear in her vision. She declares that he was once imprisoned, an announcement that leaves him astonished. While Russia laughs, she says she can help free him from this fate for just 100 gold coins. With caution, Leon hesitates, while Roses offers to pay to avert whatever may await. He urges that they leave before being misled further, but the psychic warns they'll one day have children together. She insists she's sincere about the many children, and outside, Rossweisse wonders why Leon didn't want more predictions. Leon doubts the chance of children. She also finds it unlikely, yet he reveals how much he enjoyed their new experiences. Ross agrees, saying it felt like a real date, and Leon replies that her happiness brightens his day. Then she asks about their next plan, so he proclaims that seeing the sunset at the beach will be their finale. They stroll ashore close to Sky City, where Leon announces the date's last destination is right here. Rossweisse glances about, questioning if the atmosphere doesn't seem cliched with all the couples present. Leon agrees it's a romantic haven, then suggests they search for a quieter part to enjoy alone. Golden skies light their way as they amble beside the gently lapping shore at sunset. He observes how the fading light casts a golden hue upon the waves and her shimmering hair. She catches his gaze, aware that he has been watching her intently. She asks why he stares while he turns away, insisting he only admires the sunset, not her. Rossweisse calls him stubborn. Leon assures her his affections belong solely to her. Out of nowhere, Leon smiles and accuses her of jealousy, realizing what's truly happening. Quickly covering his mouth, she refutes his playful claim and stands her ground. She quietly teases that he said many wild things that night and wonders if he dares to hear them. He anxiously shakes his head, refusing, genuinely alarmed by her tempting offer. With laughter, she refuses to say more, dashes off, and he chases her, questioning what else he revealed. Concealed, Muin sees her mother's joyful smile as Noah laments forgetting her camera, but the servant claims it's no tragedy, prompting the girl to ask why. She says such quick, beautiful moments are truly special and should be treasured in their hearts. The sisters watch their mother's gentle laughter, agreeing, as Rossweisse splashes Leon, who warns her to wait. Still laughing, she continues to play in the waves until she suddenly slips, letting out a startled scream. Leon rushes to her side, calling out for her to be careful. He then wraps her safely in his arms, and they gaze quietly at one another for a heartbeat. The intimate closeness stirs newfound feelings within Leon. Drawing nearer, Rossweisse places a tender kiss on him, their silhouettes framed by the setting sun. With a gentle smile, the servant turns the girls' heads away, telling them this was a precious private moment. Leon lingers in thought, watching the sea softly touch the shore. Rossweisse observes that stories are defined by their endings, then holds out her hand and dares him to take hers, calling herself the most unlikely match for a Scorpio. He answers her playful words with a warm smile. He accepts her hand, promising there is nothing to fear, as together they stroll the beach beneath the glowing sunset. Later, Noah earns first place in the essay contest by honestly portraying her parents as a loving yet unusual pair. That evening, one window glows softly in the night. Leon searches beneath the bed, then slowly rises from the floor. He confides that he had secretly printed old festival cat costume photos of her and must hide them well. Seated, he ponders where to hide the last picture when suddenly someone enters the room. Startled by the small noise, Leon whirls around. Abruptly, he conceals the photos inside a nearby drawer. He then quickly reassumes his previous position. Just then, Rossweisse comes in and finds him absorbed in a book on the sofa. Leon inquires whether she's going to bed tonight or would like to linger there beside him. She answers with a gentle smile, wondering aloud if that isn't possible. He assures her with a smile to do whatever brings her comfort that evening. Leon thinks that he now has the upper hand to deal with any of her tricks. She sits next to him and asks if he likes bunny girls. Startled, he yells Cyrillic letter 456 and wonders if his secret photo collection has been discovered. Rossweisse then reveals he talked in his sleep about wanting to see his classmates dressed as bunny girls. Music Leon Cyrillic letter 456 denies it and declares that if he were to ask, he would ask her to wear the outfit. She's surprised to realize he took the chance to reveal his true feelings, but she decides to tease him a Cyrillic letter 456 little more and states that he can dream on because she will never wear a bunny girl outfit for him. He concludes that since she didn't find the photos, he still has the advantage. Then Leon Cyrillic letter 456 smiles and asks what she would do if she wore the bunny outfit. Rossweisse warns him that if he plans to use magic to force her, his tricks won't escape her sight. And then she challenges him, saying that if he succeeds, she'll have to publicly admit that he won the argument. Leon stares at her and asks if she's serious. She confirms but reminds him to think about the consequences if his little plan fails. Then he gets up from the couch and states he doesn't need any tricks, as he opens a secret compartment. Leanne explains that he's already done everything he needed to. Next, he throws a photo of her in a bunny costume onto the table, calling it a masterpiece. Rossweisse glares at him as he reveals another photo, calling it a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He spreads several photos on the table, declaring the last one the final art. An aura of energy erupts around her. She asks when the photos were taken and Leon realizes the dragoness is furious. He tells her to calm down and reminds her of the days she was unconscious due to the blood curse. With a dark expression, she asks if he intends to use this against